Chapter 635. Looking at the thundercloud beast, he squatted down and stroked its head, saying, "Thundercloud beast, long time no see." The thundercloud beast rubbed its head against his hand and said, "Why are you here? Where's Xiaobai?" "I'm here to pick up Tianchanzi and leave. As for Xiaobai, he's staying in the capital." "Oh." The thundercloud beast's interest waned. Ever since it was subdued by Xiaobai, it resisted at first, but later accepted its fate, so its feelings toward Xiaobai were very complicated. Chirp! Suddenly, a horse's neigh sounded, and a white horse galloped over, instantly coming to Tang Zheng's side, happily jumping and jumping around him. "Heavenly horse, we meet again." Tang Zheng stroked the heavenly horse's mane and said. The heavenly horse's eyes were filled with intimacy and enthusiasm, indicating for Tang Zheng to ride it. At this time, Tianchanzi rushed out of the room, shouting, "Tang Zheng, where did you find these 3 sets of martial arts?" His eyes were bright red, as if he had stayed up for several days and nights without closing his eyes. Wasn't it just a little while ago? How did he become like this?" Tang Zheng was shocked and hurriedly asked, "Tianchanzi, what's wrong with you?" Tianchanzi took a step forward, grabbed Tang Zheng's shoulders and said excitedly, "Tell me, where did you get these martial arts?" Can I keep it a secret?" Tang Zheng said awkwardly. The relationship with the Langya Pavilion was related to the secrets of the Dragon Clan, and it was indeed inappropriate to tell others. "What's the point of keeping it a secret? Tell me quickly." Tianchanzi shook Tang Zheng violently. He kept urging her. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes speechlessly and said, "I really can't say. Tell me first, how about these 3 cultivation techniques?" After staring straight at Tang Zheng for a while, Tianchanzi was convinced that he really wouldn't say it out loud, so he faintly sighed and said, "These 3 sets of cultivation methods are definitely precious and very powerful. If any one of them were to be released, it would attract the covetous eyes of others. The treasures collected by the Dragon Clan are indeed not simple," Tang Zheng thought to himself. "These 3 sets of cultivation methods are targeted at different groups of people, right?" Tianchanzi's fiery eyes of gold discerned the difference. Tang Zheng gave him a thumbs up and said, "Amazing! You can even see that." Tianchanzi raised his neck and said proudly, "Of course. Don't you know who I am?" "Humph. Good, you're amazing. Then tell me, what group of people are these 3 sets of cultivation methods targeted at?" Tang Zheng deliberately tested him. Tianchanzi pondered for a moment, looked at the 3 sets of cultivation methods in his hand, and said, "The God-killing scroll is fierce and overbearing. It is definitely a cultivation method for men. The art of ingenuity emphasizes nimbleness, and many of the cultivation methods seem to be tailor-made for women. Of course, it is targeted at women." As for the heavenly 36 absolutes, Tianchanzi's brows furrowed, pondered for a while, and faintly said, "This set of cultivation methods is very strange. I really can't figure it out in such a short time." "Ha, Tianchanzi, you actually have a cultivation method that you can't figure out." Tang Zheng laughed. Tianchanzi said unconcernedly, "I'm not an immortal. How can I know everything? Isn't this a very normal thing? Quickly tell me, what's so strange about this set of cultivation methods?" Tang Zheng pretended to smile mysteriously and said, "This set of heavenly 36 absolutes isn't targeted at humans, but tailor-made for demonic beasts." "Demonic beasts cultivation methods?" Tianchanzi's eyes immediately became round and red. Although he could be considered to be experienced and knowledgeable, he really didn't have much research on demonic beasts cultivation methods, so he couldn't see through the mysteries of this set of cultivation methods. The others also looked at Tang Zheng in surprise, especially the thundercloud beast and the Pegasus. They immediately pricked up their ears and stared at him like curious babies. Of course, demonic beast's body structure is very different from ours, and the cultivation method's circulation path is also very different. The heavenly 36 absolutes is specially designed for them, Tang Zheng explained. Tianchanzi suddenly slapped his forehead and suddenly realized, No wonder. I was wondering why this set of cultivation methods was so strange. You brat, Your luck is really heaven-defying to find such 3 powerful sets of cultivation methods. Tang Jing chuckled. Just good luck. The thundercloud beast's eyes turned and finally couldn't help but ask, "Can you teach me the heavenly 36 absolutes?" The thundercloud beast's strength wasn't weak, but in reality, it didn't cultivate a real cultivation method. Its abilities were all stimulated by its own bloodline, and it was innate strength. But if there was a suitable cultivation method to cultivate, then its potential would increase exponentially, and only then could it become a true top expert. The thundercloud beast couldn't resist this temptation, so it couldn't wait to ask. The Pegasus snorted twice, and seemed to understand their conversation and the power of this set of cultivation methods, so it stared at Tang Jing with a pair of big black eyes and raised its head in anticipation. Tang Jing's purpose of taking this set of cultivation methods back then was to teach it to these demonic beasts, but looking at the thundercloud beast's expectant eyes, his heart moved, and he had an idea. Although the thundercloud beast was forced to submit to him under the circumstances, in fact, its relationship with Tang Jing was not like the relationship between him and Xiao Bai. If there was no Xiao Bai's suppression, the two sides could go their separate ways at any time. The thundercloud beast was such a powerful demonic beast, and it was definitely a powerful right-hand man. If he lost it, it would definitely be a pity. Why not use the heavenly 36 absolutes as bait and let it truly recognize him as its master and submit to him? This was indeed a good idea, especially since the thundercloud beast was so eager to get the heavenly 36 absolutes. Just as he was about to speak, a completely different idea emerged. If he did this, it was equivalent to taking advantage of the situation and threatening the thundercloud beast. This kind of demonic beast from ancient times, its blood contained innate pride. If it was coerced by him and reluctantly agreed, it would also be a future trouble for the future. This kind of threatening request would not truly obtain the thundercloud beast's true allegiance. I must not be too hasty. Since it is now under my command, then I have many ways to subtly influence it and make it sincerely submit to me one day. Tang Jing comforted himself and suppressed his previous thoughts. Tang Jing smiled indifferently and said, "Of course I can teach it to you. I originally prepared this set of techniques for you." The thundercloud beast was wild with joy, and its eyes kept flashing with lightning. It said, "Thank you so much. You have helped me so much. This is what I should do." Tang Jing said, "Don't worry, when I am stronger, I will help you even more." The thundercloud beast promised firmly. Chirp, chirp. The Pegasus roared twice and nudged Tang Jing's shoulder. "Haha, you also have a share, okay?" Tang Jing laughed heartily. The Pegasus's intelligence had already been opened. Although it did not have any FA, cultivating the 36 heavenly dipper arts was definitely beneficial. When the Pegasus heard this, it excitedly spread its 4 legs and jumped around like a child. With these 3 sets of techniques, you can start a sect. In the Xiaoshensen world, many small sects do not have such powerful techniques. Tian Chanzi sighed. It was really infuriating to compare oneself with others. He had been in this world for so many years, but in the end, he found that other than his cultivation being higher than Tang Jing, in other aspects, especially luck, he could not be compared to this little brat. In fact, Tang Jing was able to reach this step today. Not only did it not rely on luck, he had only reached this step after many life and death battles. Moreover, he was constantly facing the danger of exploding and dying. Therefore, all of this was inseparable from his hard work and sacrifice. If he did not work hard and waited for the goddess of luck to descend, then even if Tang Jing was a celestial, he would have died long ago. When Tang Jing heard this, he opened his eyes wide in disbelief and asked, "Start a sect? Just these 3 sets of cultivation techniques are enough to establish a sect?" Tian Chanzi nodded solemnly. "Of course, it seems that you still do not understand the value of these techniques." Tang Jing really did not understand the value of these techniques. Although he knew that these techniques were not simple, he did not imagine them to be so powerful. Starting a sect is actually so simple. Tang Jing muttered to himself. When he first heard of Tian Chanzi's Kingsman, he also yearned for it. But now he understood that starting a sect was so close to him. It was simply at his fingertips. But after all, he still had self-awareness. He did not think that he really had the qualifications to start a sect. If his strength was too weak, he would simply be a joke if he dared to start a sect. Tian Chanzi rolled his eyes and saw through his thoughts and said, "You want to start a sect? In fact, it is not impossible. Aren't these people from the witch tribe ready-made? They will definitely agree to join your sect." When the elder heard this, he immediately nodded excitedly. "If Lord Envoy starts a sect, then it would be a great honor for us witch tribe to be able to join it." Looking at the elder's excited expression, Tang Zheng did not doubt that what he said was true, but he had just thought about it and did not really want to put it into practice. "Tian Chanzi, don't joke around. What is my level? How can I be qualified?" Tang Zheng waved his hand. Tian Chanzi looked at Tang Zheng seriously and said in a deep voice, "If it was in the cultivation world, then your cultivation is indeed not enough to start a sect, but right now there are very few cultivators in this world, and most of them are still weak. With your cultivation, you can barely qualify." Tang Zheng could not help but laugh and said self-deprecatingly, "What you mean is that I am pretending to be a tall man among the dwarves, and there is no tiger in the mountain, so the monkey is the king." Tian Chanzi smiled bitterly and said, "You can say that." The elder advised, "Lord Envoy, this is indeed a good idea. Just agree, under your leadership, our sect will definitely flourish." Marshall was expressionless, but his heart was in turmoil. He was about the same age as Tang Zheng, and he was already old enough to establish a sect. He was left far behind, and had a feeling of being unable to catch up. She stared at Tang Zheng, curious as to what choice he would make. To be honest, this suggestion was hard to refuse. Chapter 636. Tang Zheng's gaze was serious. He was silent for a long time before he raised his head. Seeing that the few of them were staring at him, he could not help but laugh. "Even so, I think it's still too early." Too early. This word conveyed too much meaning. This meant that he did not completely reject the suggestion, but felt that the time was not ripe yet. Deep in his heart, he still had the urge to establish a sect. The few of them could hear the deeper meaning behind it. Tian Chanzi smiled knowingly and said, "Then I look forward to the day when the time is right." To be honest, he really wanted to see how far Tang Zheng could go in the future. This legend had sprouted from his hands, so his feelings for Tang Zheng were very special. The elder felt a little regretful and sighed inwardly. Wu heaved a long sigh of relief. If Tang Zheng really accepted the suggestion, then she really felt that everything was too unreal. One had to know that even her master did not establish a sect, but inherited the martial sect. If Tang Zheng really had so much, then wouldn't he be even more powerful than her master? For a moment, Wu was indeed unable to accept this reality. "Elder, pass down the god-killing scroll and the wondrous technique to your clansmen, and let everyone focus on cultivating. One day we, the witch clan, will regain our glory and regain our former glory," Tang Zheng warned. The elder nodded excitedly, his eyes red, and said, "Yes, Lord Envoy, we will definitely remember." The elder, Thunder Beast, and Heaven Horse left on their own. Tang Zheng, Wu, and Tian Chanzi found a secluded place to sit down. Looking up, the mountain peak had already been modified a lot by the witch clan, and many houses had been built. The style was similar to the witch clan's buildings in the 10,000 huge mountains. These witch clan members are natural warriors. With the help of your cultivation technique, they will follow you everywhere in the future. They will definitely have a great cause. Tian Chanzi encouraged. Tang Zheng laughed bitterly. "You have that much confidence in me?" Tian Chanzi stared at him intensely, answering his question with his eyes. "Well, I don't have that many ideas for now. Let's solve the problem at hand first. After you leave, who will protect them?" Tang Zheng changed the topic. "With your cultivation method, their cultivation will improve by leaps and bounds. In addition, the Thunder Cloud Beast has been greatly indebted to you. It will stay here to cultivate while protecting the sorcerer tribe. It definitely won't have any objections, Tian Chanzi suggested. Tang Jing pondered for a moment. This was indeed a good idea. With the thundercloud beast, even ordinary cultivators would find it difficult to harm the Wu tribe unless the 100 Faces Star Sovereign personally came. 100 Transformation Star Lord. Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched as he asked, will the 100 Change Star Monarch personally launch an attack after knowing that the plan has failed? The 100 Change Star Sovereign has been biding his time for such a long time. I don't think he will act rashly at this juncture. Furthermore, although a strand of the 100 Transformation Star Lord's consciousness is attached to the demon god's body and appeared in front of you and me, he himself might not know that we are hiding here. With such a distance, his consciousness cannot inform him of these things. Heaven Monk analyzed. Tang Zheng frowned suspiciously. Are you sure? Of course. Tian Chanzi nodded his head without hesitation. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. That's for the best. Then the witch tribe will not be in danger for the time being. What are you going to do with that cheap disciple of yours? Tian Chanzi asked. Him? His grandfather was the original person in charge of this place, but the appearance of the demon god caused him to be chased and killed. If Chen Yu is willing, I can leave him here, and even let the witch tribe help him stand firm and take back everything that belongs to him. I don't think he'll agree. Although he's small, his eyes aren't bad. If he insists on being your disciple, why would he stay here? Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, Child, it's just a whim. After a few days, when you calm down, you won't think so much. Then let's wait and see. Tian Chanzi was full of confidence. In the following period of time, everything was calm and peaceful. Every day, Heaven Monk would carefully guide the witch clan members in their cultivation. Although this was the first time he had seen these techniques, his cultivation was still strong, and he was knowledgeable. There were many key pointers that could enlighten the witch clan members. Every time he saw these people cultivating, Ling Qianyu would hold his chin and squat at the side. He was extremely envious, and the sparkling gaze in his eyes showed how much he wanted to be one of them. On the surface, Wu was calm, but in reality, a dark tide was surging in her heart. This was because she had personally witnessed a few witch tribesmen's strength increase by leaps and bounds ever since they started cultivating. This kind of speed was extremely rare among martial artists. She seemed to gradually understand why cultivators were so powerful. It was because these techniques were simply too powerful. Even if an ordinary person were to cultivate them, their achievements would be much greater than that of an ordinary martial artist. Unknowingly, she couldn't help but feel despair. The things she had been defending all these years seemed to be gradually collapsing. The rise of cultivators seemed to be unstoppable. The meticulous Tang Zheng noticed the change in Marshall's mood. He took the initiative to sit beside her and asked, Is the only martial art you train in the Roaring Flames saber technique? Without turning his head, Wu said, Do you think that martial arts techniques can be sold in bulk like you? Maybe. Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment before saying, What did you say? Wu suddenly turned his head, his eyes as bright as the stars in the night sky. I said that I can really find some martial arts techniques. Tang Zheng said word by word. Wu did not doubt him, because Tang Zheng had already proven to her too many times. Many seemingly impossible things were not difficult for him, and he seemed to be a miracle creator. Is there anything suitable for me to cultivate? Wu hesitated for a moment, but in the end, the strong impulse for martial arts overcame his face as he asked nervously. Seeing her like this, Tang Zheng laughed. Of course there is, but do you really want it? Wu rolled his eyes and misunderstood. He asked, What conditions do you have? What conditions? Tang Zheng was slightly startled. He had never thought of asking for any conditions, but these words reminded him. Of course there are conditions. Tang Zheng took advantage of the situation and laughed sinisterly. Promise me, don't follow me so closely in the future. I still have the ability to protect myself. It's that simple? Wu thought that he would make some excessive request such as that, but he didn't expect that he would only make this condition. Is it simple? Then I'll add a few more. No. As a man, how can you go back on your word? Wu was afraid that he would add some excessive conditions, so he quickly blocked his way out. Hee, does that mean you've agreed? Wu bit her lips and nodded. Although she promised her master and mistress that she would protect Tang Zheng, she had to admit that the gap between her and Tang Zheng was getting bigger and bigger. Moreover, she had a feeling that this gap would only grow bigger. Then she would not be able to protect Tang Zheng at all, and would instead become his burden. Although this was a cruel reality, he had to admit it. All right then, I'll find a suitable cultivation method for you in a few days. However, your roaring flame saber is extremely masculine, so only a masculine cultivation technique is suitable for you. Of course. How can a woman like you practice such fierce martial arts? Tang Zheng asked curiously. Wu rolled his eyes at him and said, It's none of your business. In fact, before she had a relationship with Tang Zheng, she had never thought of herself as a woman. Everything she did was better than the men of the same age in the martial sect. Her personality was even stronger than a man's. Cultivating a strong and fierce martial art was naturally not something inconceivable. However, ever since she had an intimate relationship with Tang Zheng, the feminine qualities hidden in her body were slowly being stimulated. The current her was much more feminine than before. Tang Zheng did not mind, smiled, and his gaze fell on her hands. In the past few days, she had applied the special ointment of the witch clan, and her wounds had already healed. Unfortunately, there were many scars left, which greatly affected her beauty. Sigh. Tang Zheng sighed. What a pity. Wu seemed to have understood something and immediately retracted his hands into his sleeves, his arms subconsciously protecting his chest. How is the injury on your chest? You hooligan. Wu recalled the scene in the changing room and immediately reprimanded him. Tang Zheng blinked innocently and said, I didn't do anything, but I was scolded as a hooligan. This is too unjust. It seems that I really need to do something. Don't. Wu hurriedly jumped back far away, then turned around and fled. Hee, you brat, you're not good. I really thought that you had taken care of her. So it was all an illusion. Tian Chanzi appeared out of nowhere and laughed in ridicule. Damn, Tian Chanzi, you actually eavesdropped. How shameless. Tang Zheng stared at Tian Chanzi, who had an evil smile on his face, and said angrily, When did I eavesdrop? It's obvious that you guys were talking too loudly, and the wind blew into my ears. Tian Chanzi argued. TSK, sophistry. This is indeed a rare beauty. However, that pair of hands is really a pity. Tian Chanzi said regretfully. Tian Chanzi, haven't you always boasted that you know everything about astronomy and geography? Is there a way to remove her scar? Are you looking down on me? Of course I have a way to use my true energy to moisturize her skin. In time, I will naturally be able to remove the scar. Is that really possible? Tang Zheng was about to go back and consult the king of medicine, but he didn't expect Tian Chanzi to have a way. Of course, as long as I use my true energy to move around her wound, removing this scar won't be a problem at all. Tian Chanzi was full of confidence. With me here, there's no need for you to heal her. Tang Zheng thought of the private location on her chest and quickly denied Tian Chanzi's intention to help. Humph, a dog biting Lu Dongbin. You don't know how to appreciate kindness. Tian Chanzi said angrily. After a pause, he said, You actually promised to find a cultivation method for her. Where are you going to find it? A hermit has his own brilliant plan. You're playing dumb with me again. Tian Chanzi was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. Hee, when the time is right, you'll naturally know. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth. I'm about to go into seclusion for a day. If there's anything, wait until I come out. The decision to go into seclusion was not made on a whim. A month was coming and he could once again go to Langya Pavilion through the Dragon Seal. Chapter 637. Tang Zheng sat alone in the room. Outside the door was an elder personally guarding, not allowing anyone to disturb him. Tang Zheng activated the Dragon Seal, and the scene before him changed. He once again arrived at Langya Pavilion, which was still an ancient building. Looking at the 3 words Langya Pavilion on the signboard, Tangjung took a deep breath and walked up the stairs. This time, he was not in a hurry to go to the next floor. Instead, he walked to the first floor. The first floor contained countless martial arts manuals. Although he had no use for them, they were suitable for martial arts. Martial's Roaring Flame Blade was not a bad martial art. Martial's cultivation speed was not slow either, but the gap between her and Tangjung was getting bigger and bigger. She had to rely on another set of martial arts to see if she could break through. Although there was a saying that one should not bite off more than they could chew, Martial's martial arts were too simple. Combining other martial arts was not without benefits. Martial herself also saw this point, which was why she was willing to agree to Tangjung's conditions in exchange for another set of martial arts. There were dozens of martial arts manuals on the bookshelves. Tangjung glanced through them one by one. Unfortunately, most of them were not suitable for martial arts. Roaring Flame Blade was a very domineering yang martial art. Furthermore, Martial's physique was special.
It was an Yin fiend body.
Not only did her body contain a large amount of pure Yin energy, it also contained fiend qi. If this continued for a long time, she would definitely freeze to death. Fortunately, she met Wu Junshan, the head of the martial organization. She was able to cultivate such a fierce martial art like Roaring Flame Blade. This way, she could suppress the fiend qi in her body and luckily survive. His gaze swept through the rows of martial arts manuals. He could not help but shake his head and abandon them. Step by step, he walked past the rows of bookshelves and arrived at the front. The layout here was different from the second floor. A wooden table was placed at the innermost part of the bookshelves. On the table were 2 wooden boxes. The wooden box was dull and dull. There was nothing fancy about it, and it almost did not attract any attention. However, this special position caused Tangjung to immediately stop. The 2 wooden boxes placed alone were definitely not simple. What was inside? Martial arts manuals? Tangjung did not know. He had already browsed through all the other manuals. There was nothing too profound or suitable for martial arts. How could he report back? Wouldn't that make Wu laugh his head off? Moreover, he was not the kind of person who would just randomly pick a book to make up the numbers. No matter what it is, let's open it first. Tangjung made up his mind and prepared to open the wooden box.
Huh.
Tangjung widened his eyes in surprise. What the hell? The wooden box did not budge in the slightest. No matter how much strength Tangjung used, he was unable to open the wooden box as it was tightly sealed. I don't believe it. If the cultivation method for the second level was so easy to obtain, why would it be so difficult to obtain the first level? He really didn't believe that it was so strange. Therefore, he took a deep breath and gritted his teeth. True qi surged and instantly flowed through his 8 extraordinary meridians. Open! He let out a low roar, the veins on his face bulging as if they were about to explode. Phew! After a long while, he gasped for breath and his hands trembled, but he still couldn't open the wooden box. In the end, he could only give up. He looked at the inconspicuous wooden box in disbelief, trying to guess what was inside that was so secretive. Let's look at the other wooden box first. He weighed the pros and cons for a while and temporarily gave up competing with this wooden box. He chose the other wooden box. These 2 wooden boxes are exactly the same. Don't tell me I can't open them again. Then I really have to go back this time. Tangjung rolled his eyes speechlessly. Open for me. He used all his strength, roared, and suddenly exerted all his strength.
Bang!
With a muffled sound, Tangjung fell on the cold wooden floor, motionless, as if he had been immobilized. Damn! How could this be? Tangjung wanted to cry, but had no tears. He stared at the wooden box in a daze. The wooden box was completely open. It turned out that he had used too much strength just now, and accidentally fell down. This wooden box didn't require much strength at all. Even a 3-year-old child could open it. It was completely different from the previous wooden box. This kind of unconventional behavior seriously hurt Tangjung's feelings. He bitterly sighed. Who the hell set up this damn thing like this? It really killed him. He stood up and carefully looked at the wooden box. There was an ancient book with 4 words on the cover. At a glance, it seemed as if 4 flames were floating from these 4 words. Inferno, Divine Palm. Tang Zheng had never heard of this set of martial arts, but from these 4 words, he felt that it was different from others. This ancient book was very light. He casually flipped it open. Pictures of moves and training chants were displayed one by one in front of Tang Zheng. What a powerful martial arts! After a while, Tang Zheng couldn't help but exclaim. Although he didn't practice martial arts, his knowledge was not bad. This set of martial arts was definitely a top-notch martial arts. The Inferno Divine Palm was a set of extremely ferocious palm techniques. According to the description, when practiced to the peak state, one palm strike could turn the enemy into ashes in an instant. This set of martial arts must be kept. He quickly put it into the sumer pouch, and an identical set of Inferno Divine Palm was produced in the wooden box. It seems that the situation is the same as on the second floor. As long as I take the martial arts, it will automatically produce an identical martial arts. It's equivalent to just copying the martial arts. Tang Zheng nodded. He was not surprised. His goal was accomplished, and his mood became much more relaxed. However, when his eyes fell on the other wooden box, he frowned again. What should he do with this wooden box? Since it was placed together with this set of Inferno Divine Palm, it must be something extraordinary. Although he couldn't open it for the time being, he might as well make a copy. With a thought, the wooden box was put into the sumer pouch.
Huh?
He stared at the empty wooden table. There was no wooden box on it like before. What was going on? Tang Zheng was stunned. Didn't this mean that after he took the wooden box, it disappeared from Langya Pavilion? Unlike the other martial arts, there would be a copy left here. He scratched his head. He really couldn't figure out what was going on. Forget it. Since I can't figure it out, then forget it. Tang Zheng shook his head and put this question to the back of his mind for the time being. He walked up the stairs and came to the second floor again. Looking at the dazzling array of various cultivation martial arts, he did not put all of them into his pouch. The witch tribe had 2 sets of profound martial arts, the God-killing scroll and the wonderful intent technique. It was enough for them to cultivate and ponder for a long time. His eyes were fixed on the stairs that led to the 3rd floor. The last time was still fresh in his memory. He had overestimated himself and wanted to go up to the 3rd floor, but he was directly knocked out of Langya Pavilion by an invisible force. There was only one opportunity to enter Langya Pavilion every month, and each time it was only 15 minutes. If he was kicked out just like that, it would be a great loss. It was not that he couldn't do anything in Langya Pavilion. At least he could read a lot of books. With Tang Zheng's current cultivation, he could be considered to have reached a higher level in cultivation. Although he did not plan to cultivate the martial arts on these bookshelves, it did not prevent him from reading and comprehending them. Every martial art had its own uniqueness. Many people could not cultivate a set of martial arts to the extreme even if they spent their entire lives. But there was no harm in reading more. Tang Zheng thought so he planned to use the next period of precious time to read more of the other martial arts, get rid of the impurities, extract the essence, and comprehend some of the mysteries. Absorbing a little bit of essence from every single book and accumulating a little bit would be of great benefit to his future cultivation. The ancient Clear Heaven Scroll and the Dragon God technique were both extremely profound and contained the truth of the Great Tao. They required extremely strong talent and comprehension ability. Tang Zheng was a Skywalker, so there was no doubt about his talent, but his comprehension ability needed to be nurtured and trained. These various techniques that were as vast as the stars could be used to train his comprehension ability. Tang Zheng understood this very well, so he took the basic martial arts from the bookshelf, then sat down cross-legged and studied it bit by bit. Time passed little by little. Tang Zheng was completely immersed in it and forgot the passage of time. A quarter of an hour had passed. He sat in the same place, safe and sound, holding the martial arts with both hands, hungrily absorbing the knowledge. An hour later, Tang Zheng's body slightly trembled. He suddenly woke up and raised his head to look around. His face revealed a look of astonishment. Time. An hour has passed. Tang Zheng was very surprised. He clearly remembered that the five-clawed golden dragon had told him that he could only stay in Lengyu Pavilion for 15 minutes at a time, and then he would be automatically driven out by Lengyu Pavilion. Just now, he had forgotten this key point. Now that he had woken up from a dream, he realized that this was unusual. How could it be? Could it be that the five-clawed golden dragon fooled me? Tang Zheng doubtfully said to himself, but quickly denied this point. The five-clawed golden dragon would never do such a meaningless thing. If I can have enough time to stay in Lengyu Pavilion, then I can read more martial arts, which is very beneficial to my cultivation. He immediately judged the value of this matter and was overjoyed. Haha, five-clawed golden dragon. If you know that I can stay in Lengyu Pavilion for an hour, I don't know what you will think. Tang Zheng smiled. It was hard to imagine the five-clawed golden dragon's expression when he knew this. In fact, he did not know what this seemingly not very strange thing meant. After all, no one in the Dragon Clan had ever broken this rule. Everyone could only stay in Lengyu Pavilion for a quarter of an hour. This was the restriction set when Lengyu Pavilion was first built. He did not know what it meant to break this restriction unknowingly. He did not have time to be happy for too long. Suddenly, the scene in front of him changed. Lengyu Pavilion disappeared, and he was forced to leave again. Originally, I could only stay in Lengyu Pavilion for a quarter of an hour, but now I can stay for an hour. This is a great improvement. I don't know how long I can stay next time. He could not help but look forward to it. But this is not the key point. I must improve my Dragon God technique as soon as possible and reach the third level. Only then can I enter the third floor. Now that I am surrounded, I need treasures. Chapter 638. Tang Zheng walked out of the wooden house. Tian Chanzi and the others were looking forward to him. Seeing him come out, they immediately surrounded him and asked at the same time, "How is it?" Tang Zheng smiled faintly and took out a wooden box and handed it to Marshall. Marshall's face flashed with joy as he received it suspiciously. The attention of the others was also quickly attracted as they stared at the wooden box. Marshall carefully opened the lid, and the words "Fire Nether Divine Palm" immediately entered her eyes. The joy on her face became even stronger as she hurriedly flipped through it in her hands. Gradually, her eyes became brighter and brighter, and her breathing uncontrollably became hurried. After a long while, she sighed, and her gaze became extremely complicated as she stared at Tang Zheng. "Where did you get it?" Marshall's voice was filled with endless doubt. Everyone knew that he was in closed-door cultivation, so how could it suddenly become a set of cultivation techniques? Marshall understood the power of this set of cultivation techniques, especially to her. It was a rare and precious treasure that could not be bought with money. Tang Zheng smiled indifferently and said, "You don't have to worry about where it came from. The key is whether you want it or not, right?" "Of course," she said without hesitation, but this kind of cultivation technique is definitely not something that can be obtained so casually. "I'm really curious where you got it from. Why are you thinking so much? Hurry up and go train." Tang Zheng clenched his teeth and did not let go. Marshall had no choice but to give up on pursuing the matter. He walked away excitedly and suspiciously. Tian Chanzi stared at him as if he was an alien. He shook his head left and right and said, "You brat, you are becoming more and more mysterious." "Hee hee, you flatter me. Since you're in closed-door cultivation, what are you going to do next?" Tian Chanzi asked. "After such a long time, there has been no movement from the 100 Transformations Star Lord. This means that this place is temporarily safe, so let's return home." After staying in the wilderness for nearly a month, the incident with Princess Anne should have passed by now. According to her schedule, she should have returned to the country. Then, he would not be the center of attention when he returned. 3 days later, Tang Zheng, Tian Chanzi, Wu, and Ling Qianyu embarked on their journey back to their country. Just as Tian Chanzi had predicted, Ling Qianyu rejected Tang Zheng's offer to stay and even helped him take back his grandfather's territory. She wholeheartedly wanted to stay by Tang Zheng's side. Seeing his insistence, Tang Zheng agreed, without further persuasion. The four of them sneaked into the country's border. Along the way, Ling Qianyu opened her eyes wide, unable to take in all the new sights and things. Of course, this was only secondary. He served Tang Zheng extremely well along the way and did not need to do anything. If Tang Zheng was willing, he would probably even be willing to feed him. Tang Zheng rejected his meticulous care and attentiveness several times, but the other party turned a deaf ear to him, so Tang Zheng gave up. Obviously, Ling Qianyu wanted to use this method to make Tang Zheng agree to accept him as a disciple. As for his goal, Tang Zheng was well aware of it, but he did not point it out. Dianan, Tang Zheng once again came to this familiar place and couldn't help but recall the conflict between him and the Dianan's Long family. However, it was also thanks to these conflicts that he had such a good helper like Mu Hongyan. The Long family was now supported by Long Xianyuan, especially in the area of business. Without Mu Hongyan, the business genius, the Long family was far less prosperous than before. The Long family had shrunk many of their businesses and no longer expanded outward. They were considered unknown among the several great families, which was a sharp contrast to the rapid progress of the Song family during this period of time. They did not stay long in Dianan, and quickly went north. However, Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to return to Beijing. Instead, he sent Ling Qianyu back to ordinary balance. Whether he was willing or not, he had to accept this arrangement. Tang Zheng carried the attention of many forces in the capital, and there were too many unknown dangers on him. Ling Qianyu was too weak, and it was indeed too dangerous. Moreover, Huaxia was too different from the small country in the west. It was also a good thing for him to stay in ordinary balance and adapt to Huaxia's life and environment. In the end, under Ling Qianyu's resentful eyes, Tang Zheng, Wu, and Tian Chanzi embarked on the journey north. Beijing. Stepping on this land again, the weather had gradually become hot. Occasionally, one could see beautiful legs unreservedly displayed in front of everyone on the streets. Tian Chanzi took a deep breath, and an excited smile appeared on his face. He said, "The big city is really different. The scenery is beautiful enough. It is not something that the wilderness can compare to." "Tian Chanzi, I think you mean a feast for the eyes," Tang Zheng teased. After this old fellow was reborn, he had picked up a good skin bag. Back then, when he was in the ordinary balance bar, there were many beautiful women who came to strike up a conversation with him. There were even people who took the initiative to support him. Tian Chanzi rolled his eyes at Tang Zheng and said, "Why are your thoughts so dirty? Appreciation, you know? You have to use an appreciative gaze." These past few days, she had not relaxed a single moment in her cultivation. As long as she had time, she would be completely immersed in the world of the fire underworld palm. "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first." Since she had promised Tang Zheng that she would not follow him at all times, she would fulfill her promise. Moreover, with Tian Chanzi here, unless the 100 Transformation Star Lord personally came, it would be extremely difficult for anyone to harm Tang Zheng. Seeing that Marshall had walked far away, Tian Chanzi patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and said, "You brat, you can't do it. Your relationship with this beauty is still too stiff. If you were as handsome as me, then you definitely wouldn't be in such a tragedy." Tang Zheng speechlessly rolled his eyes, kicked Tian Chanzi, and shouted, "Scram." Tian Chanzi did not mind. He laughed and jumped away, waved his hand, and said, "If there's nothing else, then don't come looking for me. I'll go admire the beauty of this city first." "Wretched." Tang Zheng squeezed out 2 words from between his teeth, and then walked towards the school. After leaving the school for so long, it was time to go back and show his face. Walking quickly in the campus, there were students on both sides in a hurry. Occasionally, there would be people who would look at him with strange expressions, but they were not as exaggerated as before when they rushed up to stop him. He let out a big sigh of relief. His decision to temporarily avoid the limelight was too wise. This time, the temperature of Princess Anne had already dropped. Even if there were people who recognized him, they were not as crazy as before. Room 502. When he opened the door, 3 pairs of eyes simultaneously turned and stared straight at him. Wow. Third brother, you're finally back. We thought you were kidnapped by some beauty. Sinosaurus jumped 3 feet high, quickly rushed towards Tang Zheng, and hugged him tightly. Tang Zheng patted Sinosaurus's back and looked at him in amazement. It had not been long since they last met, but his skills had actually improved by a lot. Zhou Yan and Wang Shiji also surrounded them. Zhou Yan smiled and said, "Third brother, you slipped away by yourself, causing us to suffer." Wang Shiji nodded his head. "Yes, you don't know what kind of days we've been living." Tang Zheng was confused and asked, "I'm leaving, what's wrong with you guys?" Sinosaurus put his arm around his shoulder and said, "Sai, our days were painful and happy." The more Tang Zheng listened, the more confused he became. Painful and happy? The 3 of them nodded at the same time. Zhou Yan pointed at Wang Shiji and said, "Boss, you tell him." Wang Shiji coughed and said, "Third brother, ever since you left, Princess Anne has been looking for you all over the world. Your phone was turned off, as if you had disappeared from the face of the earth. She couldn't find you, so she came to our dormitory every day. Wow, you don't know, but during that time, our dormitory was the center of attention of the entire school. Who knows how many people came to our dormitory to wait before dawn, just to see Princess Anne." That scene, it was really hot to the extreme. Tang Zheng's head was filled with black lines. Was it really that exaggerated? As if seeing that he didn't believe it, Zhou Yan quickly took out his phone and opened the photo album. "Take a look, we didn't lie to you." There was a sea of people in the photo, and it was like a sea of people downstairs. Obviously, this photo was taken from the window upstairs, and it gave people a feeling of being there. They really weren't exaggerating. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly and rolled his eyes, saying, "These people really have nothing to do after eating their fill. You've seen the princess so many times, so of course you think it's normal, but how could other commoners have this opportunity? Furthermore, she's one of the most famous princesses in Europe, and she's also a great beauty. This kind of opportunity only comes a few times in a lifetime, so of course I have to come and take a look." Sinosaurus curled his lips, looking down on Tang Zheng's attitude of not taking it seriously. "All right, I can't win against you guys. But you can tell Princess Anne that I've left the capital." "It's easy for you to say that." "Of course we say that, but they don't completely believe us, so they come here almost every day. It's a beautiful thing to see beauties every day, but to be blocked by people to the point that they can't even leave the dormitory, that feeling is not good," Zhou Yan said resentfully. Haha. Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh out loud. So this is what it means to be in pain and happy. The 3 of them shook their heads and said, "Third brother, it's not that we want to criticize you, but you really didn't do anything right. Princess Annie came looking for you, but you avoided her. That's really not right, it's too hurtful. You didn't see the last time, her eyes were red, and she almost cried. She seemed to know that you were deliberately avoiding her. Tell me, for a beauty like her, especially a princess, how hurtful is that?" "I really have something to do," Tang Zheng explained. "Humph, don't we know you? Aren't you just afraid of being the center of attention?" The 3 of them scoffed and immediately pierced through Tang Zheng's thoughts. Tang Zheng smiled embarrassedly and did not deny it. "You don't know, after Princess Anne caused such a ruckus, there are more and more rumors. Some people have already described you as a heartless man who abandoned you. Many people are crying out for Princess Anne, and it almost led to a diplomatic dispute." Chapter 639. After the collective criticism of the dormitory, Tang Zheng realized that it was wise for him to disappear quietly. Otherwise, with Princess Anne pestering him like this, who knows what would happen? Princess Anne is gone. In fact, I am not used to it. Do you think she will come back? Several people sighed with regret. Immediately, the 3 of them looked at Tang Zheng in unison. Tang Zheng was slightly startled and said, "Why are you looking at me? How would I know?" "If you don't know, who else knows?" The 3 people did not believe him. "I think you guys are really obsessed." Tang Zheng speechlessly rolled his eyes and directly went to the bathroom to wash up. Tang Zheng did not know that because of his evasive attitude, Princess and did not completely give up. Moreover, in the near future, they will meet again. At that time, it will not be so easy for him to get rid of her. School life was gradual and slightly boring. In addition to attending classes, Tang Zheng concentrated on practicing martial arts. The ancient Clear Heaven Scroll and Dragon God's secret art were both improved. Every day after class, Yi Dingdang came to find him many times, leaving countless shadows of the two people in the school. On the weekend, Tang Zheng left the school and returned to his residence in Beijing. When he stepped into the room, a white figure quickly jumped on his shoulder. Circle plus. Hey, Xiaobai. Tang Zheng was slightly shocked because the last time in the Northwest Desert Base, Little White drank a lot of magma in order to save people. From then on, it became dispirited and listless, and its body became round, like a football. After not seeing it for a month, it actually changed a lot. Its body became bigger, and its fur became brighter. A pair of small eyes rolled around, looking at Tang Zheng and chirping nonstop. Master, you are back. Gui Qiansui also climbed out and respectfully called. Gui Qiansui, how did Xiaobai grow bigger? Tang Zheng asked. Gui Qiansui shook his head. I don't know. Some time ago, something happened to it. Its whole body was burning with flames, almost igniting this house. Not long after, the flames on its body went out, and it had a new change. Xiaobai chirped a few times, as if showing off. Suddenly, it jumped out from Tang Zheng's shoulder. Hoo-hoo, Xiaobai did not land on the ground, but suspended in the air, a pair of snow-white wings grew out of its body. Tang Zheng did not notice this pair of wings at all. He could not help but be surprised and stared at it. Xiaobai, you have wings? Xiaobai nodded proudly, flapping its wings even more vigorously, flying in circles in front of Tang Zheng to show off. Xiaobai's wings were not long, but they were covered with snow-white hair. When it was tucked away, it was tightly attached to its body. Outsiders could not notice it at all. Even Tang Zheng's eyes were blinded. TSK, it seems that the magma is very good for you. Why don't we go find a volcano and let you drink some magma? Tang Zheng suddenly had an idea and suggested. Unexpectedly, when Little White heard this, it shook its head like a rattledrum and kept squeaking with a bitter face. You don't want to go? Little White hurriedly nodded in agreement.
Why?
Didn't you drink magma to improve your strength? Tang Zheng scratched his head, confused. Xiaobai chirped as if it was explaining the reason. However, there was a language barrier between the two sides. Tang Zheng spread his hands and could not understand Xiaobai's words. Okay, I won't go. Tang Zheng did not force Xiaobai. Xiaobai must have its own reasons. Unfortunately, it could not speak. If it could communicate with words like Gui Qiansui, it would be much more convenient. Xiaobai, from now on you and Gui Qiansui will start to cultivate a set of martial arts. Are you willing? Tang Zheng asked seriously. Xiaobai scratched its head, its eyes full of doubts. Obviously, it did not understand the meaning of Tang Zheng's words. Look at this set of 36 heavenly spirit arts. It is especially suitable for you demon beasts to cultivate. It will definitely be beneficial. Tang Zheng took out the set of 36 heavenly spirit arts as if it was a treasure. Xiaobai stretched out its pink claws and flipped it casually. Its small mouth curled into a Chinese character. It was very disdainful. With a slap, the set of 36 heavenly spirit arts flew in front of Gui Qiansui. You don't want it? Looking at its disdainful look, Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. Xiaobai immediately nodded. It was a tacit agreement. Isn't this a set of martial arts for you demon beasts? Why don't you want it? Listen to me, this set of martial arts is very powerful. Both the Thundercloud Beast and the Pegasus are cultivating this set of martial arts. If you don't cultivate it, you will definitely lose to the Thundercloud Beast in the future. Xiaobai proudly raised its small head with a disdainful look. It seemed to be saying that it did not think the Thundercloud Beast could surpass it. Looking at its arrogant look, Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. This little guy was really getting better at acting cool. Great Immortal, can I cultivate this set of martial arts? Gui Qiansui suddenly asked carefully. Just now, it had already flipped through the 36 heavenly spirit arts. Its entire body and mind were immersed in it. This set of martial arts was too useful for it.
It could not wait to cultivate it.
Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, "This was originally prepared for you. Of course, you can cultivate it." Gui Qiansui was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "Thank you, great immortal, for your kindness." It could foresee that after cultivating this set of martial arts, its cultivation would definitely increase greatly. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Xiao Bai curled its lips in disdain. It seemed to despise Gui Qiansui for even cultivating this kind of martial arts. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry looking at this little guy. Its vision was too high. Since you don't want this set of martial arts, then forget it. Wait until later to see if there is anything you're interested in. Tang Zheng said helplessly. Only half a day after the weekend, Su Yingtian came to the door. Tang Zheng, this time you disappeared from the world for so long and caused such a big disturbance. You really can't stay idle. Su Yingtian pointed at Tang Zheng and shook his head. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Tang Zheng understood what he meant and asked, "Are you talking about the matter in the northwest?" Su Yingtian nodded. "If not this matter, what else could it be? You've stirred up Xing Feng's anger again, making him so angry that he's fuming." Tang Zheng shrugged and said, "It's best to anger him to death. I really don't know what to do with you." "What? He came to complain to you?" Tang Zheng asked in a good mood. "Why would he come to complain to me? He's just trying to stir up bad luck. He's not so stupid. He directly used the resources of the upper echelons to report to the highest level." Su Yingtian pointed his finger at the sky, speaking with deep meaning. Tang Zheng frowned and said, "Humph, it's really a case of the guilty party complaining first. I was just about to report to you about the Dragon Group's situation. Do you know that their super soldiers have made new progress? Not only did the ordinary super soldiers increase in strength, but they also created the 4 heavenly kings. Every one of them is not an ordinary person. Moreover, the changes in their bodies are shocking. It's as if they are transforming into demons and not humans." Recalling the wings on the Flame King's back, Tang Zheng did not feel that his words were alarmist. Su Yingtian's expression immediately froze and asked in a deep voice, "Is what you said true? You really don't know?" Tang Zheng asked. Su Yingtian shook his head. Ever since the Dragon Group's base was destroyed, their intelligence work became extremely tight. Moreover, there was a big internal cleansing. The people I planted were all removed, so it was very difficult to get any useful information about the Dragon Group. Who would have thought that their progress would be so great? Xing Feng really has good methods. If that's the case, then the Dragon Group is impregnable. Tang Zheng sighed. It's not that far off. The Flame King has already died in my hands, but the other 3 heavenly kings are definitely not kind people. With such experts helping the Dragon Group, it's like adding wings to a tiger. Tang Zheng said solemnly. No wonder Xing Feng is so angry. So it turns out that you killed one of his generals. Humph, so what if I killed him? What can he do to me? Could it be that he wants to kill me? Tang Zheng said with disdain. With his current cultivation, it would not be easy for Xing Feng to touch him. That's why he can only howl. However, this time his backer is very strong and reported many bad things about you. The most important thing is that you did something to the Tree of Life. After saying this, Su Yingtian stared at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze. Back then, when the Tree of Life soared into the sky, he had also seen how magical this tree was. However, the Dragon Group later used all kinds of resources to include this Tree of Life into the Dragon Group's research scope. This made Su Yingtian feel very helpless. Of course, the Tree of Life caused a huge commotion in the upper echelons. Many eyes were staring at this big tree. However, the Tree of Life was too magical. Up until now, there had been no practical research results. However, everyone knew that with time, there would be results. However, Xing Feng suddenly complained that Tang Zheng had done something to the Tree of Life, making it impossible for them to get close to the Tree of Life. What research was there to talk about? Therefore, when the upper echelons heard this news, they also criticized Tang Zheng. When Tang Zheng heard this question, he did not panic. He did not even blink as he said calmly, "Haven't they been researching the Tree of Life all this time? Now that there's a problem, they're blaming it on me. Isn't that framing me?" When Tang Zheng laid down the Universal 8 Desolation Formation, he understood that the Tree of Life was not only related to the Dragon Group, but also something that the country attached great importance to. By doing this, he was excluding the country. However, in order to save the world, he had to do this. He was not stupid. From the moment he made this decision, he was already prepared to insist that he had nothing to do with the Tree of Life. In any case, no one from the Dragon Group saw it with their own eyes, so there were no witnesses. With his current status, it was impossible to touch him without conclusive evidence. Seeing Tang Zheng's solemn vow without any change in his expression, Su Yingtian could not help but secretly praise him. This kid's shrewdness was getting deeper and deeper. Chapter 640. Tang Zheng calmly looked at Su Yingtian. In the end, Su Yingtian looked away and said with a smile that was not a smile, "It doesn't matter if you did it or not, but Xingfeng has already convinced the upper echelons that you did it, so your days won't be easy." Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and said, "How bad can it be? It's best for you to calm down for the time being and not let the Dragon Group have anything on you. Don't let the upper echelons have too much dislike for you. Otherwise, even with the protection of the National Security Bureau, you will still be at a disadvantage. After all, you are still a citizen of this country," Su Yingtian warned. Tang Zheng bitterly smiled. He did this for the sake of the big picture, but he did not expect that it would cause the upper echelons to be unhappy. However, on second thought, he had never expected anyone to remember his great kindness. This was not only for the people in power, but also for the world. "Damn, I didn't even realize that I was so noble," Tang Zheng quietly joked. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not say a word, Su Yingtian did not bother about this matter. After all, Tang Zheng was not an ordinary person, and it would not be a good thing to push him too far. "But the information you provided about the Dragon Groups for Heavenly Kings is very useful. I will report it to the upper echelons. This is the Dragon Groups doing behind the backs of the upper echelons, so they must bear the consequences," Su Yingtian sternly said. TSK. Tang Zheng indifferently shook his head. "That's your internal matter. In any case, tell Xingfeng that if he is unhappy that I killed the Flame Emperor, I will accompany him at any time. But if he dares to implicate me and touch the people around me, even if I have to chase him to the ends of the earth, I will make him die without a burial." As he spoke, his body emitted an intense killing intent. Even if Su Yingtian was experienced and knowledgeable, he could not help but tremble. His expression changed a few times before he solemnly nodded his head. "Don't worry, I will pass this message to him. But with my understanding of him, he will not dare to find trouble with you." That would be for the best. As long as Xingfeng did not target his family, then he really did not have much to fear. With his current cultivation, it would not be easy for Xingfeng to touch him. "Let's not talk about these unhappy things. What's going on between you and Princess Anne? Are you really a couple? Brat, you're amazing. How many boats did you step on them?" Su Yingtian asked with a mischievous smile on his face. "Hey, you are a big man. How can you be so gossipy?" Tang Zheng speechlessly protested. "Haha, after all, she is. How did you hook a brat? How did you hook a brat like you?" Su Yingtian chuckled as he spoke, looking as if he was watching a good show and didn't mind the situation blowing up. "I don't know the cause, I nod at you, I just happened to save her once in the South Sea. I already know that, but I think Princess Anne is not as simple as saving your life. What kind of magic potion did you feed her?" Su Yingtian asked tirelessly. Tang Zheng was speechless. He turned around and ignored him. Seeing him like this, Su Yingtian did not stop and continued to say, "You left for no reason." Princess Anne was really angry and almost caused a diplomatic incident. Tang Zheng did not turn his head and said, "Don't make a big fuss. She's already gone, so this matter ends here." "Ends here?" Su Yingtian's voice suddenly raised a few octaves. Do you know the main reason I came to find you today? Isn't it about the dragon group? What else could it be? Tang Zheng was confused. Haha, after I tell you, you will definitely be shocked. Don't keep me in suspense. If you have something to say, just say it. Do you still want to see Princess Anne? Su Yingtian kept him in suspense. Princess Anne's beautiful face flashed in Tang Zheng's mind. As a man, looking at such a beautiful woman was naturally pleasing to the eyes. But the other side's halo was too dazzling. Staying by her side also meant enjoying the treatment of being in the limelight. As a man who had always kept a low profile, Tang Zheng did not like the feeling of being in the limelight. So comparing the two, he would rather not see Princess Anne. But hearing Su Yingtian's tone, Tang Zheng suddenly had a bad premonition. He turned around and stared at him and asked, What do you mean? Don't worry about what I mean. First answer my question. Tang Zheng pondered for a moment and said, I don't want to see her. Su Yingtian stared and said, F***CK, are you still a man? You don't even want to see such a beautiful woman? Everyone has their own ambitions. If you keep me in suspense, then I will leave. Su Yingtian gritted his teeth and said, Fine, you win. To tell you the truth, even if you don't want to see her, you have to see her often. Tang Zheng became more and more confused. He scratched his head and asked, She has already returned to the country. How can I see her? You can't scare me. Su Yingtian was so angry that he laughed. He pointed at Tang Zheng and said, I don't know what she sees in you. To tell you the truth, Princess Anne will come to Beijing soon. Not for a visit, but for an exchange. This time, after Princess Anne visited Huaxia, she announced to the public that she is very interested in the culture of Huaxia. Therefore, she wants to study in Huaxia for a period of time, so that she can understand and learn more. Tang Zheng's eyes widened the more he listened. In the end, his eyes were like two copper bells. He stared at Su Yingtian and said, You are not joking? Is there a need for me to joke? Su Yingtian's face was serious. Does this princess have too much time on her hands? What's wrong with her that she actually came to Huaxia to study? Tang Zheng had a headache. He was not in a good mood.
What kind of attitude is that?
She's an international friend. How can we refuse her request? This is our country's charm. You don't know that after this news is announced, our country's soft power will increase by a lot. Our status in the country will also increase significantly. Tang Zheng curled his lips. What was the use of doing all these fancy things? The most important thing was to make the people's lives better. Seeing Tang Zheng's disapproving expression, Su Yingtian continued, Of course, these are all high-sounding official words. You and I know very well why Princess Anne suddenly wanted to study in our country, and why she specially chose Yenching University. Of course, all of this is because of you.
Don't talk nonsense.
I'm not that charming. Tang Zheng quickly waved his hand. You don't believe me. With my decades of experience, I will never be wrong. She came for you. You, the mysterious knight, have contributed greatly. Alas. Tang Zheng was helpless. He sighed faintly. Now that what was done could not be undone, this matter could not be changed anymore. He tried every means to avoid Princess Anne, but he did not expect that he was still one step behind. She directly took the firewood from under the cauldron and directly made a more ruthless move. He could not avoid it even if he wanted to. He could not always not go to school. He was dejected, like a defeated general. Su Yingtian looked at him and grinned. He suddenly patted him on the shoulder and said, Don't be so dejected. Others would be envious of this good thing for several lifetimes, but when it came to you, it was like killing you. If other people knew, you would definitely become the public enemy of all men in the world. Even spittle would drown you. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Tang Zheng turned around and walked away listlessly. Su Yingtian almost jumped and said bitterly behind his back, You brat, you don't know how lucky you are. Tang Zheng did not think that this was a lucky thing. He was thinking about how to deal with this difficult princess. But in the end, he did not think of any useful method. Forget it. I'll just have to deal with whatever comes my way. I'm a big man. What's the point of being so wishy-washy? Before, I was not afraid of so many difficulties and obstacles. How could I be afraid of a woman? He took a deep breath, swept away the haze in his heart, and strode to the front of a large building. This building was very grand, and the location was excellent. It occupied the central business district of the capital, the golden location of the golden location. Yo, Mu Hongyan is really amazing. She actually found such a good place in such a short time. This place would be the headquarters of his company in the future. It was absolutely domineering. There was never a shortage of tenants in this area, and not just anyone could open a company in this place. Mu Hongyan was able to do all of this, which was enough to prove her ability. Tang Zheng could not help but secretly rejoice for a while. His original unintentional move had actually recruited such a general. He was really lucky. Of course, such a large building definitely had more than one company. When Tang Zheng walked into the lobby, he saw an endless stream of white-collar workers shuttling back and forth. Although it was the weekend, there were still a lot of people. One of them was particularly conspicuous in the crowd. Without a doubt, she was the focus of the crowd. She just casually stood there, but her temperament was completely different from the others. There were also many other beautiful women, but compared to her, they were absolutely dwarfed. She attracted a lot of attention. When Tang Zheng stepped into the door, her pair of watery eyes immediately locked onto him. Like a butterfly, she flew towards him. His vision blurred, and a person rushed over. Fortunately, Tang Zheng trained a pair of fiery golden eyes and instantly saw her appearance. His face bloomed with a smile. Otherwise, in the face of such a sudden attack, his first reaction would definitely be to knock the other party down.
Bang.
With a muffled sound, she heavily crashed into Tang Zheng's body and fell into his embrace. Tang Zheng did not move. He stretched out his hands and hugged her. He touched her black hair and smiled with relief. Master, you finally came to see Ling. She finally opened her mouth. She raised her head and looked at Tang Zheng with infatuation. Yes, Linger, long time no see. You've become more beautiful. Really? Ling rubbed her cheeks, which were fairer than jade, and asked with joy. She was no longer the little Linger who did not know much about the world. In this period of time, she really crammed a lot of life knowledge. Chapter 641. The two people's intimate actions attracted a lot of attention. After all, everyone's attention was originally on Ling. Everyone was trying to guess who this man was to be so intimate with such a beauty. Suddenly, someone in the crowd exclaimed, isn't she the goddess Tang Ling, who's been very popular recently? After his reminder, some people also reacted and quickly checked the photos on the internet. It really was her. Tang Ling has been exposed a lot recently. Thanks to AIME's series of actions, she already had a bit of fame and was praised as a goddess by many otakus. After all, her temperament, which was like a lotus flower emerging from the water, was very different from the current chaotic entertainment circle. People couldn't help but have a good impression of her. Suddenly, someone rushed out from the crowd and used himself as a human wall to block everyone's line of sight. He didn't even turn his head as he said in a low voice, "Hurry up and go upstairs. I'm so anxious." Ling stuck out her tongue and said with grievance, "Ling, missed Master so much that I couldn't wait to pick Master up." Ling, didn't I tell you not to call me Master, call me brother?" Tang Zheng corrected. Ling, playfully blinked and said, Ling, forgot. "Brother, don't be angry." Aimi was about to cry as she advised, "You two should go upstairs if you want to catch up. There are so many people watching. If someone takes a photo and posts it online, all your efforts will go to waste." "Okay, let's go upstairs." Tang Zheng just happened to see an elevator door open. He immediately pulled Ling, and rushed in like the wind. Before anyone could react, the elevator door closed. Aimi finally let out a sigh of relief. She wiped the cold sweat off her forehead and thought to herself, Every time the boss comes, it's like he's testing my nerves.
Ding.
The elevator door opened and Ling walked in with Tang Zheng's arm wrapped around Tang Zheng's arm. Immediately, they attracted a lot of attention. But Linger didn't let go of her hand. Because this floor was full of colleagues in the company, she didn't have to worry about other people's eyes. However, the employees stared at Tang Zheng as if they were looking at an alien. They were all guessing who he was and how he could be so intimate with the company's most popular actress. Mu Hongyan quickly walked out to welcome him. She smiled from afar and said, "Young Master Tang, you're here." Tang Zheng nodded and said, "Sister Mu, thank you for your hard work. This is what I should do. Let me show you around first," Mu Hongyan said cordially. When other people heard the conversation between the two people, they couldn't help but be speechless. Mu Hongyan was famous in the company for being strict and serious. How could she be so polite to this handsome guy? This is the headquarters of our group. Back then, I had my eyes on this building, but the owner didn't want to rent it to us. After a period of struggle, young Master Yen finally came out and settled this matter. Mu Hongyan explained as they walked. The passers-by all greeted Mu Hongyan. She was like a general in ancient times, emitting an extraordinary temperament. When Tang Zheng heard this, he asked in astonishment, "Yen Lu Yen?" Mu Hongyan nodded her head and said, "Young Master Yen seems to have a good relationship with you." Tang Zheng remained silent. His relationship with the Yen family was very subtle. They had shown kindness to him time and time again, and this time, they had helped him without asking for credit. He really admired the Yen family's way of doing things. Mu Hongyan continued, "During this period of time, everything has been proceeding in an orderly manner, especially the pharmaceutical factory. With Senior King of Medicine as a consultant, things have been getting twice the results with half the effort. Many new drugs are already in clinical trials, and the results are very good. I believe that it won't be long before they enter the stage of mass production." Tang Zheng gave a knowing smile and praised, "This is all thanks to you guys." Mu Hongyan smiled and said, "Without you, all of this would be nothing. You are the biggest contributor. Let's talk in the office." After walking around and familiarizing themselves with the environment, Mu Hongyan invited him. Tang Zheng nodded his head, and the three of them walked into Mu Hongyan's office together. Her office was decorated very generously, and it didn't have the stinginess of a woman at all. "Brother, what do you want to drink? Tea or coffee? Sister Mu has a lot of good things here." Ling volunteered to introduce. "Drink some tea." "Okay, it will be ready in a while." Ling immediately turned into a tea girl. She boiled tea, made tea and poured tea. The whole process was done in one go. Coupled with her outstanding appearance, it was simply a kind of beautiful enjoyment. These are all the contents of the new training. Her comprehension is very high, and she can understand many things in one go. Mu Hongyan praised. Ling raised her head and smiled shyly and said, "Sister Mu, you flatter me." Knock knock. There was a knock on the door.
"Come in."
Aimi opened a crack in the door and poked her head in to look around. Tang Zheng couldn't help laughing and said, "Why are you sneaking around? If you want to come in, come in." Aimi pinched her thumb and middle finger together and laughed. "Boss, you are really charming. Don't you know that outside, there are a lot of people guessing who you are? I'm not a big star. What's there to guess?" "Oh, boss, you are belittling yourself. Ordinary stars can't catch up with you. You are Princess An's mysterious knight." Aimi opened her mouth and said exaggeratedly. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes speechlessly. "How do you know about this?" "Haha, we are in the entertainment circle.
Of course we know about this."
Besides, not only in the entertainment circle, many ordinary people also know about you. If you enter the entertainment circle now, you will completely crush those popular young stars." Aimi still didn't give up and urged. He suffered many losses in front of Tang Zheng, but he still didn't give up. Mu Hongyan and Linger also looked at Tang Zheng at the same time. Obviously, they were also very clear about the previous storm. Mu Hongyan was more and more surprised. She was really puzzled. How did he get involved with Princess Anne? Moreover, it seemed to be a little ambiguous. Tang Zheng heard and quickly waved his hand to stop him. Let's talk about serious business. Aimi bitterly glanced at Tang Zheng before letting out a long sigh and said, "What a pity." Okay, boss, let's talk about serious business. During this time, Linger's reputation has been gradually accumulating. Recently, she has been discussing cooperation with several film and television companies. If it is confirmed, she will start shooting a movie. In addition, she has already started recording her album. I believe that it won't be long before she becomes more and more famous. In today's entertainment circle, not only did one have to rely on their good looks and good temperament to stay popular, but they also had to have excellent results, such as singing and acting. In short, relying on their looks to make a living could only make them popular for a while, but not forever. Linger had a face, so of course, she also had to have soft power. She had to cultivate both inside and outside. That was the true style of a big star. When it came to serious business, Aimi was very serious and showed the style of a gold medal manager. Tang Jing nodded with satisfaction. Thank you for all of this. This is my job. It's not considered hard work. After Aimi finished speaking, there was a strange look on her face. She looked like she wanted to say something but stopped. Tang Jing slightly frowned and said, "If you have something to say, then say it. Is there something that you can't tell me? There has been a little trouble recently. There are some bad words about Linger online." Aimi said hesitantly. When Linga heard this, she also stopped what she was doing and curled her lips, feeling wronged. Those people are really annoying. They made things out of nothing and said bad things about me. Although Tang Zheng didn't know the exact situation, he could roughly guess it. As the saying goes, when a person becomes popular, there will be a lot of trouble. Recently, Linga has become more and more popular, so there must be someone who is jealous. Thus, they are secretly stirring up trouble and purposely slandering her. Have you found out who it is? Tang Zheng coldly asked. I found out. It's my old enemy, the popular celebrity Liu Yanran. Liu Yanran? Tang Zheng frowned. This name was a little familiar. Where have I heard it before? Seeing that he didn't remember, Linger immediately reminded, it's the woman we met when we were buying clothes at Ordinary Balance during Chinese New Year. Tang Zheng instantly realized. So it's her. Back then they even had a conflict which involved the Lei family. Liu Yanran was known as a fairy sister in the entertainment industry. But after Linger was pushed onto the stage, many people realized that Linger had the temperament of a fairy sister and Liu Yanran couldn't compare to her. However, she had been famous for a long time. After all, Linger couldn't compare to her for the time being. But everyone knew that Linger had potential, and it wasn't impossible for her to surpass Liu Yanran in the future. Liu Yanran and the company behind her also felt the pressure. Thus, they hired ghostwriters to slander Linger. As the saying goes, public opinion can melt gold. Although it's just a matter of chasing the wind, the audience who didn't know the truth would be subtly influenced if they heard too much, which was disadvantageous to Linger. Tang Zheng figured out the reason and coldly snorted. I didn't find trouble with her, but she came to us first. Boss, I have already dealt with this matter. Although there is some negative influence on the internet, it won't affect the overall situation. You did well. Collect more information on this woman. Linger is getting more and more popular, and there will definitely be conflicts with her in the future. We won't fight a battle that we have no confidence in. Since she is slandering our Linger, we won't fabricate facts to slander her. Instead, we will use evidence to nail her to death. Unknowingly, Tang Zheng emitted a powerful aura, causing Mi's heart to tremble. Liu Yanran actually dared to provoke the boss. This time, she will definitely suffer a huge loss. I heard you say that she's a troublemaker. I believe that she has a lot of information on her, right? Tang Zheng asked. Mi nodded her head. Of course. Many people in the entertainment industry are unhappy with her. But everyone is afraid of the benefactor behind her, so no one dares to reveal this information. Otherwise, her reputation as a fairy sister would have long disappeared. She's just fooling ordinary people who don't know the truth. Her benefactor? Who? Tang Zheng asked in suspicion. Chapter 642. Tang Jing nodded and said, "No wonder she is safe and sound when she causes trouble everywhere. It turns out she has a big backer." "So, boss, let's take the long view," Aimi suggested. The corner of Tang Jing's mouth hooked up, revealing a devilish smile, and said, "She dares to slander Linger. I don't care who is behind her. As long as her bullshit matters are verified, I will be happy to let the public know." Aimi's eyelids jumped. She wanted to persuade him, but held back. Her emotions fluctuated, and she could not help but feel a little excited. When other people faced Lu Yanran, they all retreated. But her boss faced her head-on.
This was really too satisfying.
"Boss, you can rest assured. I, Sister Aimi, promise you that I will use all my connections and resources to investigate Lu Yanran as soon as possible." Aimi patted her chest and promised. With that, he left the office without stopping. Looking at his energetic appearance, Mu Hongyan praised, "Aimi is indeed very capable. The series of plans that she made for Linger can be said to be perfect. Otherwise, it would not have been easy for Linger to reach her current level of exposure in such a short period of time." Tang Jing nodded and looked at Linger with a smile that was not a smile and asked, "Linger, now that you are a star, how do you feel?" Linger opened her bright black eyes and stared straight at Tang Jing and said, "Not much. No matter how big of a star Linger becomes, I will always be my brother's Linger. Haha, in the future when you are more famous than me, I will ask you for an autograph." Tang Jing joked. Linger's cheeks flushed red and said shyly, "Brother is making fun of Linger." As she spoke, she naturally took his arm. Mu Hongyan's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise as she thoughtfully looked at the two. "Since it's all thanks to Yan Liuyun's help in the office building, I'll remember this favor. Since I have time this weekend, I'll invite him to have a meal with me. Sister Mu, would you like to join us?" Mu Hongyan shook her head. "I won't go. The company is just starting up, and there are a lot of things to do. Let Linger accompany you. That little girl hasn't seen you for a long time. She must want to spend more time with you." Upon hearing this, Linger was delighted and said, "Elder Sister Mu knows Linger the best. Linger just wants to stay by Big Brother's side." She leaned on Tang Jing's shoulder like a little bird. If her fans saw the scene, they would definitely want to skin Tang Jing alive. Seeing Mu Hongyan's firm attitude, Tang Jing did not force her and left the office with Linger. Under everyone's gaze, he allowed Linger to hold his arm and disappear into the elevator, causing everyone to whisper and discuss. Linger wore a pair of large sunglasses that almost covered half of her face. She intimately held Tang Jing's arm and went to a nearby restaurant. Just now, he had already made an appointment with Yan Luyun over the phone and invited him to come here for lunch. When Yan Luyun heard this invitation, he was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly agreed that he would be there in a while. Sure enough, not long after the two sat down, Yan Luyun appeared at the door and quickly walked over under the guidance of the waiter. "Young Master Tang, long time no see." Yan Luyun cupped his hands towards Tang Jing and calmly nodded towards Linger. "Young Master Yan, please take a seat and order first. As the host, I'm not a picky eater." Yan Luyun laughed heartily. Tang Jing did not hold back and ordered a few signature dishes. Linger sat silently at the side and silently observed Yan Luyun through her sunglasses. "Young Master Tang is a famous figure in this period of time. Many people in the circle are talking about you and are envious of your luck," Yan Luyun said with a smile. Tang Jing bitterly smiled. He naturally knew that Yan Luyun was referring to Princess Anne. He shook his head and said, "This matter is a freak combination of factors. It's not as complicated as everyone thinks." That might not be the case. But with young Master Tang's ability, it's not impossible for you to attract Princess Anne. Tang Jing immediately waved his hand and said, "Stop, let's not talk about this today. We'll just reminisce about the past." Then I'll accept your invitation. Let me introduce you. This is my sister, Linger. It's her first time here. I hope young Master Yan can take care of her in the future." Tang Jing took the initiative to introduce. Yan Luyun was surprised. Wasn't Tang Jing an orphan? Why did he have a sister? Just a moment ago, he thought that she was one of Tang Jing's close female friends. However, her temperament was indeed different. Although he could not see her face, he believed that she was not bad.
So it's Miss Tang. Nice to meet you.
Yan Luyan warmly greeted. Linger took off her sunglasses and smiled sweetly as she shook hands with Yan Luyan. When he saw Linger's face, a trace of amazement flashed through Yan Luyan's eyes as he praised, "Miss Tang is really a natural beauty. You're so beautiful that even birds and geese fall." Linger faintly smiled and said, "Thank you. But you seem a little familiar. Where have I seen you before?" Yan Luyan doubtfully blinked his eyes as he muttered to himself. "Linger, it seems that you're not famous enough. Young master, Yan did not recognize you." Since Tang Zheng introduced Linger to Yan Luyan, he did not intend to hide his identity. Yan Luyan was stunned when he heard that. He looked at Linger a few more times and suddenly, his eyes widened as he exclaimed, "So it's you, the fairy sister who has become famous recently." Immediately, he turned his head and stared straight at Tang Zheng, the shock in his heart overflowing with words as he said, "Young Master Tang, your job of keeping this a secret is too good. You don't know, but there's news about your sister in the circle recently." Tang Zheng's interest was piqued, and he sat up straight as he curiously asked, "Oh, what news?" This. Yan Liuyun's face slightly changed, as he was at a loss for words. Tang Zheng slightly knitted his brows and said, "Is there something you can't say?" "It's just a group of rich playboys who are bored," Yan Luyun said embarrassedly, as he glanced at Linger. Tang Zheng's heart moved as he had already guessed a few things. These rich playboys ate, drank, and played every day. So when they saw such a beautiful fairy sister suddenly become famous, they would definitely have many improper thoughts. There might even be some blind ones who would have ideas about Linger. Tang Zheng had always been cautious. He had already known that there might be trouble when she entered the entertainment circle, so he specially set up an entertainment company to put an end to this kind of thing. He never thought that this kind of thing would happen faster than he expected. But this kind of thing was unavoidable, but Tang Zheng would definitely not watch this kind of thing happen. He had to nip it in the bud. Seeing Tang Zheng's face become gloomy, Yan Luyan knew that he must have guessed a few things and hurriedly said, "These are a group of people who don't know what's good for them. I will go and greet them." Tang Zheng shook his head and said, "I like to deal with this kind of thing myself. I was being targeted by these wolves, so of course he had to stand up for her. There was no need to trouble others." When Yan Luyun heard this, his heartstrings trembled. He had known Tang Zheng for so long, and every time he made a move, it would be accompanied by blood. He was deeply afraid that Tang Zheng would directly kill these people in a fit of anger. Thus, he hurriedly advised, "Young Master Tang, don't be rash. These people don't deserve to die." Tang Zheng was slightly startled. He saw that Yan Luyan had misunderstood his meaning. He did not think that he would kill these indecent people. After all, Linger was simply too beautiful. She was as dazzling as the sun, and it was normal for her to attract the attention of the opposite sex. He couldn't kill all the men, right? That would be too unreasonable. "Young Master Yan, I don't want to kill anyone. I just want to express my attitude to these people. I want to personally express my attitude," Tang Zheng coldly said. When Yan Luyun heard this, he let out a sigh of relief. An idea came to his mind, and he said, "There's a gathering tonight. Why don't young Master Tang and your sister come and have some fun?" "Oh, what gathering?" "Some people in the capital regularly hold gatherings. They are all people in the circle. With young Master Tang's current status, it would be good for you to familiarize yourself with them," Yan Luyun suggested. Tang Zheng relied on his own strength to sit on the same level as these aristocratic families' disciples. Many of them could only look up to him. However, he had always been outside of the circle, and most people did not dare to take the initiative to invite him. After all, he had a fierce reputation. Several aristocratic families' disciples had suffered a great loss at his hands. No one wanted to be unlucky in front of him. Tang Zheng pondered for a moment. Yan Liyun's suggestion was not bad. His company was in the capital, and in the future, he would inevitably have to deal with people in the circle. Familiarizing himself with them beforehand would make it easier for him to handle things in the future. Moreover, he also wanted to personally sound the alarm for these people and make them dispel any thoughts they had about Linger. Okay, then we'll listen to young Master Yan's arrangements. Yan Luyan was overjoyed. If he could pull in such a strong ally like Tang Zheng from the circle, it would be greatly beneficial for him and the Yan family. In addition, this meal is mainly to thank young Master Yan for helping my company solve the office building problem. I'm really in the dark in the capital. I'll definitely have to trouble young Master Yan a lot in the future. Tang Zheng expressed his gratitude. It's nothing. It's not worth mentioning. Young Master Tang, you're too polite. Your company has a female hero like Boss Mu in charge. It won't be long before your name will be known all over the country. After the meal, they found a place to drink tea for a while. Then, the three of them got into Yan Luyan's car and went straight to the destination of the party. In the evening, the car quietly drove into the underground parking lot of a building. Yan Luyan picked up a card and swiped it at the elevator door. With a ding, the elevator slowly opened. This is a private elevator. You can only enter it by swiping a card. It goes straight to the top floor. Our meeting place is on the top floor. Yan Luyan introduced. This building is a landmark building in the capital. The top floor overlooks the entire capital. The scenery is very good, especially at night. It's a different kind of scenery when thousands of lights are on. You guys really know how to pick a place to meet. This is a private club. It has a membership system. Ordinary people can't go upstairs at all, especially those nouveau riche. They'll break their heads trying to get in, but in the end, they still have to return in failure. Then who's the boss of this club? Tang Zheng asked curiously. Yan Luyan pretended to smile mysteriously and said, "You'll know when you see him." The elevator was very fast. After a while, it stopped. The three of them walked out of the elevator. In front of them was a very grand door. There were several security guards standing at the door. Chapter 643. Behind the door was a grand hall with carved beams and painted rafters. There were several wooden furniture, especially the landscape paintings hanging on the wall. With a single glance, one could tell that they were the work of a master. "Young Master Yan, you've come. Please come in." An account manager, who was in charge of one-on-one meetings, walked out. Just now, when the three of them had just entered the elevator, the account manager already knew that they had come, so he hurried over to receive them. This clubhouse had a dedicated one-on-one meeting so that the members could enjoy the utmost respect and enjoyment. Yan Luyan slightly nodded and said, "These are my two friends. Today they specially came to take a look at the clubhouse." The account manager maintained a humble attitude and expressed his welcome. How could someone who could be personally accompanied by young Master Yan be an ordinary person? "Young Master Yan, the banquet is about to start," the account manager reminded. Yan Luyan waved his hand and said, "We'll take a look around first. You can go to your own things." The account manager respectfully excused himself. "How do you feel?" Seeing the other party walk away, Yan Luyan asked with a smile that was not a smile. Tang Zheng shrugged and said, "This care is really meticulous. This is one of the characteristics of this clubhouse. Also, this clubhouse is a platform for everyone to use to communicate. Many big business deals are done here." Tang Zheng's heart moved as he thought of the ordinary balance clubhouse and said, "Then, what kind of services are available here?" Yan Luyan naturally knew what services he was talking about. He meaningfully smiled and said, "This time, you've guessed wrong. There really isn't any messy business here." "Oh?" Tang Zheng's eyes widened in surprise. This is where the owner of the clubhouse is smart. In this circle, there is never a lack of women. If this place was run as a brothel, it would instead lower the level of the clubhouse. After all, the members here are not only men. Yan Luyan explained. Tang Zheng suddenly understood. From the looks of it, the ordinary balance courtyard's level was too low. It was simply at the level of a nouveau riche. The few of them chatted and laughed as they walked around the clubhouse. Many people greeted Yan Luyan, but none of them bowed and groveled. On the contrary, the people here didn't like those soft-hearted people because that would be inferior. Miss Tang, do you like this place? Yan Luyan did not neglect Linger and asked with concern. Linger was not surprised by the compliment and said calmly, just SSO. Yan Luyan was briefly stunned before he bitterly smiled. Miss Tang's standards are indeed high. These words were not meant to be sarcastic, but sincere. In fact, he had been paying attention to Linger just now. If an ordinary woman were to come here, she would have been looking all around. It was too much for her eyes to take in, and she would be bursting with joy. However, Linger was completely different. Most of her attention was on Tang Zheng. She was indifferent to all this luxury and only glanced at it occasionally. This kind of temperament made Yan Luyan sigh with emotion. Sure enough, Tang Zheng did not have any ordinary people by his side. Other people who come to this clubhouse are not stingy with their praise, but this lady's words have turned my hard work into nothing. A voice full of energy, but not harsh to the ear, came from not far away as a person leisurely walked over. This person looked to be in his 40s and was very ordinary. He was not handsome, nor did he have any special temperament. It was as if he was thrown into a crowd and would be drowned at any time. Tang Zheng curiously looked at this ordinary person. From his words, it seemed that he was the owner of this clubhouse. Director Ji, let me introduce you. Yan Luyan revealed a trace of a smile and said familiarly. The other party waved his hand and said, Young Master Tang's great name is like thunder to my ears. How could I not know? I just never had the chance to meet you. As he spoke, he handed over a business card with only a phone number and a name on it. It was also extraordinarily ordinary, as if it was him. This humble one is Ji Wuxiang. I hope that young Master Tang will take care of me in the future. Ji Wuxiang politely introduced himself. This surname seems to be very rare. Tang Zheng curiously looked at the business card in his hand and said, This is a surname from ancient times, but there are fewer and fewer people with this surname nowadays. It seems that Director Ji's family has a long history. I don't know about this because I am the only one in my family. Tang Zheng was stunned. At this age, he had a successful career but was still single. This could be considered a genuine golden bachelor. However, this involved the other party's privacy. This was the first time they met, so Tang Zheng naturally would not tactfully ask more. Ji Wuxiang's gaze turned and looked at Linger and said, Miss Tang has recently made a name for yourself in the entertainment industry. Your future is limitless. Tang Zheng was shocked. This person was able to recognize even Linger at a glance. He was really amazing. Linger faintly smiled and said, Thank you. The banquet is about to begin. I still have to greet the guests, so please go ahead. Ji Wuxiang did not stay any longer and quickly left. Watching his back disappear behind the door, Yan Luyan looked at the business card in Tang Zheng's hand and said, This business card of his is not easily given away. Tang Zheng did not feel flattered, but was very curious and asked, This person's cultivation is not shallow. What is his background? His specific background is not clear to everyone, but we know that he is really amazing. What kind of amazing? There is nothing in the capital that he cannot do. Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide and said, Isn't this boasting a bit too much? There are too many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the capital, but no one dares to say that there is nothing that they cannot do. Perhaps even the big families would not dare to boast like this. Yan Luyan meaningfully smiled and said, Many people will think that this is boasting at first, but only those who really know the inside story will know that this is not an exaggeration. It is just that he will not easily promise anything to others. Tang Zheng shook his head. It was still a little hard to imagine. This person was too ordinary.
He was not even a martial artist.
Tang Zheng did not feel a trace of internal strength from him. Tang Zheng found it hard to believe that such an ordinary person had such a powerful strength. But he has a rule. If he gives this business card to someone, then he will help the other party. So if others see this business card, they will definitely be jealous and jealous. Yan Luyan said something shocking. Tang Zheng looked at the ordinary business card in his hand in disbelief and said, A business card has such great magic power? Yan Luyan solemnly nodded and seriously said, "Of course, because it is Ji Wuxiang's business card." Tang Zheng took a deep breath. He really could not guess what kind of ability he had to attract Ji Wuxiang so much. But the other party's good intentions, he could not refuse, so he carefully put away the business card. The few of them did not continue to stroll around, but went straight to the banquet. After all, Tang Zheng came today to get to know this circle, so of course he could not hide. The banquet was held on the rooftop. There were already many people gathered in groups of twos and threes, chatting and laughing. Tang Zheng swept his eyes and was surprised. Yan Liuyun's words were indeed true. The members here were not simple. He already saw several familiar faces that often appeared on TV. Not only were there business people, there were also political people. On the contrary, a few so-called popular stars became a foil, quietly accompanying these people. Look at those big stars. They have tens of thousands of fans outside and are revered by people. But here, their roles are completely reversed. They can be considered insignificant characters. Yan Luyun introduced. They are not members here? Hee. How could they have such qualifications? Yan Luyun said with a somewhat disdainful tone. It's already a great fortune for them to be able to come here. Tang Zheng was secretly speechless. The more he came in contact with this mysterious club, the more he was shocked by the power contained in this mysterious club. Let me introduce you to a few friends. Yan Luyun brought the two of them to the front of several people. The other party immediately stopped talking and greeted Yan Luyun. Everyone, let me introduce you to a friend, Tang Zheng. Young Master Tang, let's get together more often in the future. When the few people heard this, their eyes immediately lit up. They extended their hands to Tang Zheng and said, Young Master Tang's great name is like thunder to my ears. It is a blessing of 3 lifetimes to be able to meet young Master Tang. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, Everyone is an elite in their respective fields. This is killing me. Haha, young Master Tang is too modest. Ever since young Master Tang came to the capital, everything you do can be said to be a big deal. I have no choice but to admire you. Young Master Tang, the Chu family has suffered a great loss in your hands, especially Chu Xiaofeng. He is used to being arrogant, and many people have suffered losses because of him. So, you have really helped everyone vent their anger. Tang Zheng glanced at Yan Luyun. It turned out that these people were so kind to him because of the Chu family. Yan Luyun saw through Tang Zheng's thoughts and said in a low voice, In the past, Chu Xiaofeng was just a sh*t stirrer. He relied on the Chu family to run amok. Tang Zheng gradually understood the reason. Although these people were already unreachable for ordinary people and they were all members of the club, compared to the Chu family, they were still too weak. Therefore, they did not dare to say anything to Chu Xiaofeng. They did not expect that Tang Zheng would solve the big problem of the Chu family for them and completely take revenge for them. The Chu family has only themselves to blame. It's just a small matter, so it's not worth mentioning, Tang Zheng said. The few people could not hide the admiration in their eyes. They exchanged contact information with each other, and this could be considered to be acquaintances. Without a doubt, these connections would be very helpful to the development of his company in the future. Of course, he would not neglect these people. Yan Luyun introduced him to a few more people, and then they came to the railing. There were a few people gathered here, and they were talking and laughing as if there was no one else around. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. When this group of people saw Tang Zheng and the other two, their eyes immediately swept towards Linger without restraint. Under the backdrop of the night, Linger's beauty did not diminish. Instead, it added a sense of mystery, causing one's heart to sway. There was no lack of beautiful female companions beside these people. They all raised their heads and looked at Linger. Strange sparks immediately burst out from their eyes. Chapter 644. Speaking of the devil, he had just discussed Lu Yanran with AI Me, but he did not expect to meet her in the clubhouse. Lu Yanran was the master of face-changing. She looked at the two of them in astonishment, and then her eyes quickly turned vicious. Why are they here? Lu Yanran felt that it was inconceivable that the two people she had met in ordinary balance would appear in such a high-end clubhouse. Moreover, one of them had become her strong competitor. Since Linger had risen step by step, Lu Yanran had been particularly jealous. Of course, she did not really put Linger in her eyes. After all, although she was beautiful, she had no power or influence, so how could she compete with her? But she would not watch Linger grow stronger, so she hired a water army to confuse the public and deliberately discredit Linger. But tonight, when she suddenly saw Linger in the clubhouse, Lu Yanran immediately had a strong sense of crisis. This place was not a place that anyone could come in. She also begged her benefactor for a long time to get this opportunity. When she saw the members here, her eyes were dazzled and she was almost stunned. This was the real upper class. She silently swore that no matter what method she had to use, she would join them. It had to be said that she was a very ambitious woman and was very good at using her advantages. Otherwise, how could she have everything she had today at such a young age? She obediently stayed by her benefactor's side. The other party was about 50 years old and had a big beer belly which made him look like a huge football. But Lu Yanran was very gentle to him and did not dislike this ugly body at all. Compared to this person, the young master of the Lei family, Lei Jun, was much younger and more handsome. However, the relationship between her and Lei Jun could not even be considered as an act. She occasionally returned home to visit her relatives and unintentionally met Lei Jun. The other party was very passionate, and Lu Yanran was just playing with him. So, after Lei Jun suffered in front of Tang Zheng, Lu Yanran did not hesitate to leave him. Being young and handsome did not have much attraction for her. She needed money and power, and the one who could give her all of this was her benefactor, her godfather. That's right. To outsiders, she called her benefactor godfather. It seemed that this was the current trend. There were many godfathers and goddaughters in society. Tang Linger only knows how to brag. She's so pure, but she's still the same as the others. With her ability, what qualifications does she have to be here? She must have climbed up someone's branch. Lu Yanran judged others by herself and speculated maliciously. If that's the case, I'll have to be even more careful of her. Before she can truly gain a foothold in this circle, I'll ruthlessly step on her. Immediately, her eyes flashed with a fierce light. Right at this moment, a few young men glanced at Linger and whispered, "Hey, isn't that Tang Linger who's been very popular on the internet recently?" This is truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance without any effort. To think that we would actually meet here. Isn't that even better? Anyway, we've been talking about her for a long time. Now that she's here, how can we let her fly away? The few of them winked at each other and laughed maliciously. When Lu Yanran heard this, her heart moved. She quietly widened her eyes. She knew that these hedonistic young masters were not afraid of trouble. Since she had been targeted by them, then she can forget about running away. Thus, she slightly turned her head and charmingly smiled at the few young masters and said, "Young masters, for Tang Linger to be able to catch your eyes, it is her fortune. I hope that you all will be able to carry the beauty home."
Miss Lu really knows how to speak.
Then we'll borrow your auspicious words. The few of them were instigated by the beauty and could not find north. They boldly and decisively walked towards Tang Linger. Lu Yanran's face flashed with a mischievous smile. She was prepared to watch a good show. Suddenly, her godfather turned his head and asked with a smile that was not a smile, "Do you have a grudge with that beauty?" "A little." Lu Yanran hesitated for a moment before replying. However, a trace of panic flashed through her heart. She was very clear about her godfather's nature. He was simply a lecherous ghost. Although he already had a beauty like her, she did not know how many other women he had outside. Tang Linger was young and beautiful. If she took a fancy to her, wouldn't her position be in danger? Wouldn't she be lifting a rock to smash her own foot? Thinking of this, she quickly pressed her body closer to him. Her pair of towering breasts kept rubbing against his arm, and she acted coquettishly. Godfather, this woman is very bad. She always goes against me, and I don't know how many lovers she has outside. Otherwise, how could she become so popular so quickly? Oh. Her godfather frowned and revealed a disappointed expression. Although he was a lecherous ghost, he liked the original goods. He could not be interested in a woman who had already been tainted by another man. Lu Yanran knew this very well, so her words poked at his heart. Seeing his reaction, she could not help but feel relieved. She knew that her words had worked. Of course, she did not think that her words were slander. Judging from her experience, how could a little girl like Tang Linger, who had no money or power, become popular so quickly without the backing of another man? How could it be possible? She must have used her body to exchange for it. She had done this in the past, so she believed that Tang Linger was the same. She looked into the distance and saw that several young masters had already walked to the front of Tang Zheng. Some of them seemed to be unable to hold back and directly stretched out their evil claws to grab Linger's buttocks. Tang Zheng and the others were talking with others when they suddenly found that several people had surrounded them. However, he did not care. Linger's mind was on Tang Zheng. Seeing him talking with others, she could not help but be a little infatuated. She thought that her master was so handsome. Suddenly, she felt a trace of movement behind her. It seemed that someone was approaching. As a 100-year-old ginseng that had transformed into a human form, her sensitivity to the environment was extraordinary. After noticing this, she immediately turned around. Her hands were like a vice and immediately grabbed that evil claw. The other party was immediately stunned. He didn't expect that such a sneak attack would be caught, but he didn't panic at all. Instead, the corners of his mouth rose and he laughed frivolously. Yo, beauty, you're quite proactive. Hee, holding this big brother's hand. Is it comfortable? Linger's expression changed slightly. Her delicate eyebrows furrowed and she said, What are you doing? Hee, I want to ask you what you are doing. Grabbing my hand so anxiously. Are you interested in me? The other party turned the tables and teased. When the other young masters heard this, they all laughed without restraint and said, Beauty, look, we are also very handsome. Why don't we go over there and have a few drinks? Linger's cheeks flushed red. For a moment, she was speechless. She really did not know how to respond. At this moment, Tang Zheng had already turned around. His eyes were as cold as frost. His footsteps flashed, and he stood in front of Linger to protect her. Linger had no choice but to let go. She took a small step back and stuck close to Tang Zheng's side. If you know what's good for you, then scram, Tang Zheng said with a murderous aura. But the other party was not scared. Instead, they looked at him with contempt and said, Who do you think you are? You dare to threaten us? Without a doubt, Tang Zheng was a new face. The capital's social circle was not that big. At least everyone was familiar with his face. But the person in front of them was definitely a new face. No one had ever seen him before. Perhaps he was a country bumpkin who came to see the world. The young masters did not put him in their eyes. Tang Zheng originally came here today to teach them a lesson. He wanted to kill the chicken to warn the monkey and let the others stop having improper thoughts about Linger. But since these ignorant fellows jumped out, they could only blame themselves for being unlucky. Yan Luyan felt the strong killing intent from Tang Zheng. His heart jumped, and he immediately stood out. He looked at the people in front of him with an unfriendly expression and berated. You guys have guts. Quickly apologized to Miss Tang. The eyelids of the few people twitched. They looked at Yan Luyan with complicated expressions. Without a doubt, Yan Luyan still had a lot of power in this circle. Most people would give him face. Seeing his aggressive attitude, the few people looked at each other but did not retreat. First, there were so many people here. If they apologized to a woman, how would they survive in the future? Second, their own identities. This was the most important point. Although they knew Yan Luyan, their relationship was not good. It could even be said that they were like fire and water. Their family background was not as good as Yan Liuyun's, but the person behind them was not inferior to Yan Liuyun. This person was Song Yu. This group of people usually followed Song Yu's lead, especially during this period of time when the Song family was strong and the Yan family was showing signs of decline. These people were even more obedient to Song Yu. Everyone knew about the conflict between the Yan family and the Song family. The two sides fought openly and secretly, so the people from both sides were clearly in their own positions. If they apologized today and Song Yu found out, they would not be able to get any benefits at all. So, they could only brace themselves and do it. Young Master Yan, you want us to apologize to a woman? Impossible. The other party flatly refused. Yan Liuyun's face was ashen. His face was actually useless. It seemed that during this period of cultivation, some people had forgotten how powerful he was. If that's the case, then take responsibility for your own actions. Yan Liuyun slipped and was about to rush over to teach the other party a lesson. But just as he took a small step, a hand blocked in front of him. He had no choice but to stop and look suspiciously at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng coldly said, "Linger's matter is my matter. I will solve it myself." Yan Liuyun originally wanted to teach the other party a lesson and help Tang Zheng and Linger vent their anger. In fact, this could be considered saving the other party once. This was because Tang Zheng would not show mercy every time he made a move. With these people's bad behavior, Tang Zheng would definitely not show mercy. These people might not even be able to keep their lives. Chapter 645. The few of them stepped forward and directly approached Tang Zheng. They stared at him like a tiger watching its prey and jokingly said, "Country bumpkin, today I will let you know what you are worth. Beijing is not a place where a country bumpkin like you can do whatever you want." Tang Zheng did not say anything, but his eyes became colder and colder. The people who greeted Tang Zheng just now all surrounded him, wanting to help Tang Zheng get out of this situation. Yan Liuyun waved his hand and signaled them to leave. Since Tang Zheng wanted to do it himself, then of course he could not go against his wishes. When other people saw this scene, they all turned their heads to look. When they saw Linger, they could not help but reveal a stunned expression. Then, he suddenly realized that this was another fight over a woman's favor. Many people, full of interest, held their wine glasses and looked forward to it. Without a doubt, this kind of behavior was a kind of spice, adding a little spice to the party. Therefore, the unrelated people did not stop them. Even the staff of the club did not come out to stop them. Lu Yanran was so excited that her little heart was beating rapidly, and her face also showed a bit of excitement. She stared without blinking, and her heart was even filled with bad intentions. Wait a moment, Tang Linger will be taken away by these rich young masters in front of everyone's eyes. She must take a picture of this moment and let the majority of the netizens see her true face. Hee hee, at that time the evidence will be conclusive and she will not be able to make a comeback. Then her fairy sister's position will be even more unbreakable. Sigh. If the heavens want to punish you, you can go against it. Yan Liuyun secretly sighed and did not say anything more. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed and stared at the person who just stretched out his evil claws and said, "Just now you were the one who made the first move, right hand?" *CK, I was the one who made the first move, I still want to make the first move. The other person immediately cursed. These young masters all had a few moves of their own, and they were usually taught by famous teachers. However, their aptitudes varied, and they didn't practice hard. Therefore, they could only scare ordinary people. When they met a master like Tang Zheng, they weren't even fit to carry his shoes. But they didn't know the difference between them. After the man cursed, he kicked Tang Zheng's crotch with his long leg. Not only did the other party know to strike first to gain the upper hand, they were also not afraid of anything. Thus, the moment they made a move, they were ruthless and insidious. Hiss! Many people gasped, as if they could see the scene where Tang Zheng's little brother was kicked and fell to the ground, gasping in pain. However, Tang Zheng did not move. Just as the kick was about to hit him, it stopped steadily in midair. Huh! Everyone looked at this scene in shock. What was going on? Tang Zheng's hand had already reached out and grabbed the other's right wrist. Ka, ka, ka. A series of bone-cracking sounds rang out as the other party's arm was twisted into a fried dough twist at a speed visible to the naked eye.
Ah!
A blood-curdling scream resounded through the night sky. The leg that had kicked out hung limply, without the slightest bit of aggression. The others didn't see how Tang Zheng made his move. Everything happened too fast. In a flash, the situation of the battle had a huge reversal. When the other young masters saw this, they looked at each other and showed their ferocity. They roared, "Country bumpkin, you dare to make a move? You're courting death." The few of them immediately attacked Tang Zheng at the same time, punching and kicking together, all of them landing on Tang Zheng's body. Tang Zheng let go of the broken arm. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He still didn't move, but his hands moved quickly, leaving only after images. The punches and feet that were attacking immediately made a series of crisp, bone-cracking sounds. Although it was just a simple punch, the strength was surprisingly strong. His genuine chi burst out and rushed directly into the other party's punches and feet, shattering the bones. Screams of agony rose and fell one after another, causing one's hair to stand on end in the night sky. Many people's faces suddenly changed as they looked at Tang Zheng in horror. This young man was too powerful. He had severely injured his opponents so easily. This kind of strength and calm attitude was definitely not simple. This person was definitely not an ordinary person. Many people were a little curious. Who was this person that dared to deal with so many young masters so unscrupulously? The forces represented by the families behind these people were not simple. They were afraid that this person would suffer a big loss in the future. "You dare to hurt us?" The young masters covered their arms or legs and pointed at Tang Zheng in disbelief. The veins on their faces were bulging, and they looked fierce. "I want you to understand that no one in this world can have any ideas about Ling. Otherwise, I will be very angry, and the consequences will be very serious," Tang Zheng said resolutely and murderously. The young masters were not frightened. Instead, they became angry and hysterically shouted, "Do you know what you've done? I want you to die without a burial monk. Yes, no matter who you are dead for sure. Just who are you, brat?" Tang Zheng looked around and found that many people had the same question in their eyes. Since today was to kill a chicken to warn the monkeys, then of course he had to announce his name. Thus, he stuck out his chest and lightly said, "Remember, I will not change my name. I will not change my surname. My surname is Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng." A few people immediately imprinted this name deep in their hearts, but some people reacted quickly. They opened their eyes wide and exclaimed, "You are Tang Zheng." It was clear that Tang Zheng's name was very famous in the capital. Although they had never seen him in person, they knew immediately. "So it's you." The flames of hatred in their eyes became more and more intense. Although their hearts were gradually filled with fear, they did not reveal it in front of everyone. "It's me." Tang Zheng walked step by step towards the culprit who had fallen to the ground, the person who had extended his claws. "What are you doing? If you dare to extend your hand, then it won't be as simple as crippling your arm," Tang Zheng coldly said. Let me tell you, if you dare to do anything to me, young Master Song will not let you go." The other person was so scared that he crawled back, but he did not forget to threaten him. "Young Master Song you? Yes, if you know, then hurry up and scram. Otherwise, when young Master Song comes, you won't be able to escape." The other person seemed to have found a trace of confidence as he threatened. Even if Song Yu is here in front of him, you can forget about living," Tang Zheng said with killing intent. He really wanted to kill, so killing this person was not unjust. Since he dared to be so unrestrained in this place, then in other places, in front of ordinary people, wouldn't he be unbridled? Therefore, there must have been ordinary people who had suffered at his hands, and even ordinary girls who had been bullied by him. Since it was like this, then he deserved to die. Moreover, if he wanted to leave a deep enough impression in these people's hearts, then blood and life were the best medium. When the other person heard this, He was so scared that he was dumbstruck and asked in disbelief, "You want to kill me?" He never expected that when he brought up Songyu. Not only did it not scare the other person, but it also made the other person determined to kill him. The other people also did not expect this scene and could not help but be shocked. This kind of ruthless person was too rare. Many people secretly glanced at Linger and then quickly looked away. This was a rose with thorns, and the thorns were stained with poison, so it was absolutely not to be touched. Lu Yanran was already dumbstruck, her eyeballs almost falling to the ground. She was originally waiting to watch a good show, but this show was too wonderful, so wonderful that it made it hard for people to accept. Tang Zheng fought several people alone and unexpectedly won without any effort. Whether it was skill or aura, he crushed these hedonistic young masters into dregs. What's going on? Isn't he ordinary balance, that kind of country bumpkin from a small place? How can he be so arrogant and domineering? Lu Yanran's brain was not enough to understand. So he is Tang Zheng. Godfather suddenly sighed softly. Lu Yanran seemed to be grasping at a life-saving straw and asked, "Godfather, what's wrong with him being Tang Zheng?" "You don't know Tang Zheng?" Lu Yanran was at a loss and said in a daze, "This name sounds familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere. A while ago, Princess N's matter was spread like wildfire. Isn't he the main character?" Godfather reminded. Of course, he did not finish, especially the matter between Tang Zheng, the Chu family, and the Song family. These things were only known by people in the circle, and stars like Lu Yanran did not know. That mysterious knight is him? Lu Yanran suddenly realized, but in an instant, she felt that it was even more inconceivable. All of this seemed even more unreal. How could he be Princess Anne's mysterious knight? Then if these people go up against him, wouldn't they have no chance of winning? Lu Yanran muttered dejectedly. That may not be the case. Too much is easy to break. This person is decisive in killing. If he really kills that person, then the other party's family will definitely not let it go. The Song family may come forward. Godfather analyzed. Lu Yanran was overjoyed, like a person in despair who had suddenly grasped at a life-saving straw. Then wouldn't he be finished? Godfather smiled mysteriously, but did not comment. Lu Yanran bit her lips, and silently hoped in her heart. The Song family must act as soon as possible and get rid of this Tang Zheng. Then Linger will have no backing, and naturally will not be a threat. Yan Luyan sighed, not surprised at all. He had already seen Tang Zheng's killing intent, so he did not try to persuade him. That person's head drooped, still feeling like everything was a dream, and asked again in fear, "You really want to kill me?" Tang Zheng looked at him with a serious expression and said, "I don't like to repeat what I said." After saying that, he grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up high. "Hurry up and let me go, I don't want to die." He could finally confirm that Tang Zheng really wanted to kill him and was definitely not just trying to scare him. His whole body went limp, and he did not even have the strength to resist. Tang Zheng directly dragged him to the railing, and the night wind blew, causing people to shiver uncontrollably. Everyone had the same thought in their mind. Tang Zheng was going to throw him off the rooftop. If he fell from a height of hundreds of meters, he would definitely be smashed to pieces. Chapter 646. The person involved was clearly aware of Tang Zheng's intentions. His face was as white as a sheet of paper, softening into a puddle of mud, leaving behind a wet trail. He was scared to the point of pissing himself. Someone pointed at the trail and exclaimed. Suddenly, the crowd burst into laughter. The other young masters were so scared that they forgot to help their companions. They were dumbstruck as they watched the scene. Whoosh! Tang Zheng casually waved his hand, and the person in his hand drew an arc in the air, crossing the railing, leaving half of his body hanging hundreds of meters in the air. The person involved did not know where his strength came from, but he finally let out a heart-wrenching scream. He kept struggling, trying to break free from Tang Zheng's control. "You want me to let go, right? Then I'll help you," Tang Zheng coldly said. The person looked down at the 100 meters in the air and screamed with a pale face. Don't let go. Please let me go. I won't dare. I won't dare to have any improper thoughts towards Tang Linga. I am a beast. I am a fart. Please let me go. He begged for mercy with tears and snot running down his face. Where did your awe-inspiring aura go? I have eyes but can't see. You are great, great. Let me go. As he said this, he actually burst into tears. But you have offended Linger. You deserve to die. Tang Zheng's fingers slowly loosened. When other people saw this scene, many of the women covered their eyes as if their hearts were about to jump out of their throats. Young Master Tang, please have mercy. Suddenly, a person quickly walked out. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads to look, only to see Ji Wuxiang anxiously rushing over. He apologetically said, Young Master Tang, Miss Tang encountered this kind of thing at my place. I cannot absolve myself of the blame. Chief Ji, this is a grudge between me and him. It has nothing to do with you. Tang Zheng temporarily stopped his actions. Young Master Tang is magnanimous. This Ji can't thank you enough. This person is just a small fry. Killing him would simply dirty young Master Tang's hands. If young Master Tang trusts me and hands him over to me, I will definitely give young Master Tang and young Miss Tang an explanation. Ji Wuxiang said with certainty. Tang Zheng's eyes flickered a few times. Just now, Ji Wuxiang was very respectful to him and even gave him a business card that would not be exchanged for money. This was not a small favor. Furthermore, this was his territory. If he were to embarrass him in front of so many people, his prestige would definitely be affected. Director Ji, Tang Jun, clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges. If others respect me, I will respect them tenfold. After a slight pause, Tang Zheng swept his gaze over the crowd. His sharp gaze was like a knife that could cut through hair, causing people's hearts to palpitate in fear. Director Ji is a straightforward person. Since that is the case, then I will trust you and hand him over to you. Tang Zheng casually threw the person in his hand to Ji Wuxiang's feet. The other party had just escaped from the gates of hell and was overjoyed. Ignoring the pain in his body, he hurriedly thanked Ji Wuxiang. Many thanks to Director Ji for saving my life, my family, and I will not forget your kindness. Ji Wuxiang did not even look at him as he coldly said, harassing my guests in my club. Do you really think that I, Ji Wuxiang, am easy to bully? Someone come, break his remaining arm and 2 legs and throw him out of this building. Also, throw all the other people out and cancel their membership. In addition, tell their families that they must take out a sincere apology to young Miss Tang. Otherwise, I, Ji Wuxiang, will personally come and reason with them. These words were resolute and decisive, like a heavy hammer that struck everyone's hearts. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at Ji Wuxiang. No one would have thought that Ji Wuxiang would propose such a severe punishment. Although that person did not die, he would lose a layer of skin. Was Tang Zheng so important that Ji Wuxiang did not hesitate to offend so many families for him? As soon as his voice fell, several security guards jumped out and moved like lightning. With a few cracking sounds, his other arm and 2 legs were safely twisted. Even if they were reattached in the future, they would still be crippled. Hiss! Many people sucked in a breath of cold air as they looked at Tang Zheng with complicated gazes. That person directly fainted from the pain and was dragged down the rooftop like a dead dog with the others. Young Master Tang, are you satisfied? Ji Wuxiang asked. Thank you, President Ji, for upholding justice. Tang Zheng gently nodded his head. Ji Wuxiang immediately revealed a smile, clapped his hands and said, Everyone, those guys ruined everyone's mood. I will punish myself with a cup of wine as an apology to everyone. Saying that, he took a cup of wine from the waiter's tray and drank it in one gulp. When the others saw this, they all raised their glasses and smiled, as if nothing had happened. Young Master Tang, let's talk in private, Ji Wuxiang said in a low voice. When they came to the edge of the rooftop, many people secretly looked in their direction. This time, their eyes were not fixed on Linger, but completely focused on Tang Zheng. Without a doubt, at this moment, Tang Zheng's light overshadowed Linger's. Everyone was trying to guess what they were talking about. Lu Yanran was depressed like a defeated general. She bit her lips and secretly looked in anger and fear. Originally, she thought that the families behind those rich playboys would deal with Tang Zheng, but now it seemed that it was just wishful thinking. Ji Wuxiang's tough attitude made those people's families not dare to act rashly. Not only did they not dare to act rashly, but they also had to apologize to Tang Linger and beg for forgiveness. Lu Yanran had been in the industry for so many years, facing these big families and rich people. She had always been trembling with fear. She always had a smile on her face, afraid that she would offend them. But this time, Tang Linger completely defeated her. Not only was Tang Linger not afraid of these rich people, but she also made them apologize to her. Lu Yanran felt that this world was too crazy. This was beyond her understanding. She had never expected herself to be able to reach this step. But what did she do to be able to do this? She subconsciously looked at Tang Zheng beside Tang Linger. Could it be him? But how could it be? She didn't see how much ability this Tang Zheng had, except that he had a bad temper and had a little scandal with Princess and... But these were not enough to make the rich people afraid, let alone make Ji Wuxiang be so polite. She didn't have time to think about the cause and effect when her godfather turned his head and looked at her seriously. He warned, "Don't provoke that Tang Linger in the future." Ah! Lu Yanran was stunned. Her godfather, who was incompetent in her eyes, was actually afraid of Tang Zheng. "Don't treat my words as wind passing through your ears. Otherwise, if you get into trouble, don't blame me for not recognizing you and not caring about you." Her godfather continued to sternly warn her. "Godfather." Lu Yanran hurriedly stuck her huge chest to him and said coquettishly, "But that Tang Ling is too despicable. She stole my fairy sister's title. Do you think I should just tolerate it?" "Humph, even if you can't endure it, you have to endure it." Lu Yanran's eyes flashed. She bit her lips and looked wronged and indignant. Her godfather stared at her for a long time and sighed in his heart. It seemed that he had to get rid of her as soon as possible. With his understanding of her, of course he knew that she didn't take his warning to heart. Since that was the case, then she was a ticking time bomb. Sooner or later she would provoke Tang Linger and bring him trouble. Moreover, he was tired of playing with her. It was time to get out of the situation. Lu Yanran didn't know that her reaction had brought about such serious consequences for herself. Her mind was constantly thinking about how to deal with Tang Linger secretly and protect her position and interests. Tang Zheng and the others gathered together with Ji Wuxiang. They were talking and laughing. The unhappiness from before was swept away. Ji Wuxiang took a sip of wine and said, "Young Master Tang, I heard that your company has already been established in the capital. You even invited the famous female hero Mu Hongyan to take charge. Congratulations." "Manager Ji, you must be joking. I am just doing small things to earn some pocket money," Tang Zheng said modestly. "The younger generation will surpass us in time. When I was your age, I didn't know anything," Ji Wuxiang said with emotion. Tang Zheng smiled. He didn't know if these words were true or false. If he really didn't know anything when he was in his 20s, and now he had such achievements, then in the next few decades, his rise would be too fast. It was comparable to the speed of a rocket. Manager Ji is too modest. Now that you have become famous, you don't know how many people envy you," Tang Zheng said. Ji Wuxiang shook his head and said, "AI, you only saw my glory in front of others. You didn't see the bitterness behind me. Now this world is becoming more and more difficult to survive in. The changes are too great. I don't even recognize it anymore." Hearing the hidden meaning in his words, Tang Zheng asked curiously, "Oh, why do you say that?" Yan Luyan also looked curiously at Ji Wuxiang. Towards this mysterious manager Ji, he was also filled with curiosity like Tang Zheng. "Young Master Tang, you represent a new power. You have completely broken the world structure." Ji Wuxiang looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. Tang Zheng was slightly startled. He said blankly, "Do I have such great ability?" "Of course you do. After all, you are a cultivator. In the past, cultivators didn't amount to much. But ever since young Master Tang appeared, cultivators have been growing stronger step by step. They even have the tendency to suppress martial artists. Don't you think this is breaking the current structure of the world? When Tang Zheng heard the word cultivator, his heartstrings immediately tightened. He said calmly, "Manager Ji is too serious. My strength is nothing. The several large families are stronger than me. How can I possibly break the world structure?" No, you are underestimating yourself. The several large families are indeed powerful, but they have already fallen into a bottleneck. Young Master Yan, I wonder if my words are correct? Ji Wuxiang didn't have the slightest worry of offending the Yan family. He went straight to the point and asked. Yan Luyan didn't expect him to say these words. His face was filled with resentment, and he was speechless for a moment. Ji Wuxiang smiled and continued to say, "But young Master Tang, your development potential is enormous. There is no limit. In time, you will definitely surpass the several large families. At that time, who would dare say that cultivators are weak? Wouldn't the structure of the world completely change?" Tang Zheng was speechless. Chapter 647. Tang Zheng and Yan Luyan looked at Ji Wuxiang at the same time. They did not know what basis he had for his assertion. However, there was no doubt that these words were really shocking. It set off stormy waves in their hearts. President Ji's words are exaggerated. After a long while, Tang Jing shook his head. Even he could not make such an assertion. It even seemed a little arbitrary. Yan Liuyun's lips were tightly shut. He did not say a word. Ji Wuxiang's words were definitely not targeted. Did he really believe what he said, or did he have a deeper meaning? Ji Wuxiang heard this, smiled and said, "Then we'll see in the future." As soon as he finished speaking, he revealed a trace of a mysterious smile before he bid farewell and left, leaving the two of them dumbstruck on the spot. After a long time, the two looked at each other. Tang Jing asked, "Young Master Yan, what do you think his words are for?" Yan Luyan shook his head blankly. "I don't know, but there is no doubt that he thinks highly of you." "Ha, think highly of me? I'm alone and weak. How can I be a match for your big families?" Tang Zheng said self-deprecatingly. "You can't say it like that. President Ji is right about one thing. The big family's development potential has been overdrawn. Now they are like a stumbling elephant. It is not easy to move forward, and your rise is indeed much faster than ours," Yan Luyan said with certainty. Tang Zheng was not excited at all. Instead, he sighed and said, "This President Ji is really mysterious." The two still could not understand Ji Wuxiang's intention. He looked at problems so sharply. No wonder he could have such strength. "Brother, I see Lu Yanran over there." Suddenly, Linger pulled Tang Zheng's clothes and said, "Then let's go and meet her." Tang Zheng's eyes were cold. It was really like wearing out iron shoes in vain. When Yan Luyan heard this, his eyes immediately locked onto Lu Yanran. He frowned and asked curiously, "She has a grudge with you?" "New enmity and old enmity, this isn't a small matter." Tang Zheng smiled coldly. Yan Luyan coldly snorted and said, "She really doesn't know what's good for her. She's just a small star, yet she dares to go against young Master Tang." The three of them immediately walked towards Lu Yanran. Lu Yanran was in a daze and suddenly saw the three of them walking towards her. She was startled. Although she didn't completely admit defeat in her heart, she was still in awe of Tang Zheng. After all, Tang Zheng's series of actions just now had frightened many people. Lu Yanran wanted to avoid the danger for the time being, but she found that there was no way to retreat. Even her godfather had the intention to retreat. However, Tang Zheng and the other two had already blocked their path of retreat and were staring coldly at the two of them. Lu Yanran's face was pale. She didn't completely admit defeat in her heart, but facing Tang Zheng and the others face to face, she couldn't help but tremble in fear. "Hello, young Master Yan. Lu Yanran's godfather resentfully greeted Yan Luyan and then nodded towards Tang Zheng and Tang Linger. Yan Luyan frowned and coldly said, "Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang, I trust you have been well since we last met." This sentence was obviously filled with strong dissatisfaction. As a veteran who had been in the official circle for decades, how could he not understand? Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang's face slightly changed and said, "Young Master Yan, I have nothing to do with Lu Yanran." "Young Master Yan, please don't misunderstand." Then he flatteringly smiled at Tang Zheng and said, "It's really an honor to be able to meet young Master Tang today." Lu Yanran could hardly believe her ears. She stared at her godfather, dumbfounded. This godfather, who was omnipotent in her eyes, actually sold her out. Moreover, he sold her out cleanly, without leaving a single trace. Yan Luyan was also shocked by the other party's shamelessness. After being stunned for a while, he looked at Tang Zheng and explained, "He is a deputy bureau chief of the State Administration of Radio, Film and Television." The State Administration of Radio, Film and Television. Tang Zheng suddenly understood. Wasn't this the largest official organization that managed the entertainment industry? No wonder others said that Lu Yanran had a powerful backer. It turned out that she had the support of a deputy bureau chief. As long as Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang said a word, no one would dare to offend Lu Yanran. No wonder she was so popular and invincible. However, looking at the other party's attitude, it seemed that the powerful backer in the eyes of ordinary people didn't have much capital to be arrogant in front of Yan Luyan, so he still softened. Suddenly, Tang Zheng was more relieved. It seemed that there was no need for Lu Yanran to have a good life in the future. Deputy Bureau Chief Zheng's words were almost a death sentence for Lu Yanran. But Tang Zheng didn't feel that she was pitiful. She only had herself to blame. If she hadn't stirred up trouble, how could she have ended up in such a situation? Tang Zheng didn't pay attention to the deputy bureau chief, who was strong in appearance, but weak in reality. He stared straight at Lu Yanran and said, "I already know that you hired the Internet Water Army to smear Linger. You have to take responsibility for what you did." "What do you want?" Lu Yanran was so scared that she took a step back. Her face was ashen as she stuttered and asked, "Tell the truth to the media and publicly apologize to Ling." Tang Zheng didn't want to be ruthless, especially since the other party was a woman. Publicly apologize? Lu Yanran looked like she had seen a ghost. The corners of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. "Can't I?" Tang Zheng's expression was cold as he asked. "Sure. There definitely won't be a problem." Before Lu Yanran could answer, Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang had already agreed. Young Master Tang is really magnanimous. She will definitely publicly apologize and apologize to Miss Tang. When did I agree?" Lu Yanran was so angry that she questioned. "You don't have the right to speak here." Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang's face darkened. He suddenly turned hostile and didn't recognize her at all. His expression was as cold as 1,000-year-old ice. Lu Yanran was so angry that she almost fainted. Looking at the black-faced godfather, she hesitated for a long time. In the end, she didn't swallow the words in her throat and shouted, "You're talking nonsense. You're so shameless. I've served you for so many years and endured your perverted desires. How could you treat me like this? You've gone too far." Swish. This question immediately attracted the attention of the others. They thought to themselves, tonight is really brilliant. So many wonderful shows were put on one after another. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang, who looked strong on the outside but weak on the inside, actually had perverted hobbies. "Hey, you really can't judge a book by its cover." There was a burst of laughter in the crowd, which made Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang's face burn as if it was being roasted by fire. He flew into a rage and suddenly waved his fat palm. Slap. This slap was so loud that it directly made half of Lu Yanran's face swollen. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang roared angrily, "You bitch, how dare you talk nonsense? I'll break your mouth. Tell you, you're completely finished." Lu Yanran was completely stunned. She blankly covered her face and didn't know what to do. "Get out of here. This is not a place for you." Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang regretted it very much. He was so soft-hearted that he didn't resist her 18 kinds of martial arts in bed. He even agreed to take her to the club after coaxing and pestering. He was really unlucky to have a relationship with Lu Yanran, this crazy woman. Lu Yanran didn't respond. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang didn't want to see her anymore. He was afraid that she would do something crazy again and irritate Tang Zhang and the others. So he pushed her forward with both hands. Lu Yanran staggered to the door of the club and finally fell at the door in front of everyone. The others didn't have the slightest reaction or pity. The upper-class society was so cruel. You may be high and mighty in the last moment, but you may become a prisoner in the next second. Lu Yanran vividly demonstrated this point. Many stars present who had come here with great difficulty were vigilant. They looked at Tang Zhang and the others and firmly imprinted the faces of these three people in their hearts, warning themselves not to provoke them in the future. There was no doubt that Tang Linger's identity in these people's minds rose. Many stars had secretly made up their minds to have a good relationship with her in the future, such as asking her to cooperate with them in shooting movies or recording albums. Tang Linger didn't know that she had gained so many benefits. She only looked at Lu Yanran calmly without any pity or satisfaction. She didn't have much good or bad feelings towards Lu Yanran. Lu Yanran's actions were just a small episode to her. The gap between the two was too big. It was like the gap between an eagle and a chick. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang looked at Tang Zheng in fear, wondering if he was satisfied with this decision. Tang Zheng couldn't say that he was satisfied. He just lost interest. He was originally angry, but when he saw Lu Yanran's miserable appearance, his anger disappeared completely. This woman's strength was too weak compared to his. He seemed a little useless by making such a big fuss. So, he didn't care about Lu Yanran's ending. He said dispiritedly, "Master Yan, let's go." Master Yan seemed to have figured out Tang Zheng's thoughts, but he didn't forget to glare at Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang and said, "You're on your own." After that, the three of them walked towards the door together. They didn't even look at Lu Yanran, who had fallen to the ground. Phew, the three of them went downstairs and breathed a sigh of relief. Tang Jing said, "I have achieved my goal today."
Thank you, Master Yan.
Master Tang is too polite. Has your aunt Yan Qingyi returned to the capital?
How is she?
Tang Jing asked casually. Yan Luyan was slightly startled. He didn't know why he would ask about his aunt. He said, "Aunt just returned to the capital a while ago. Everything is fine. Please say hello to her for me," Tang Jing said, remembering his experience with the Tree of Life. Yan Luyun was even more confused. He had never heard of his aunt and Tang Jing interacting. Why did it sound like they were very familiar with each other? "I will definitely bring it," Yan Luyun still promised. The two sides said goodbye. Tang Jing took Ling, and disappeared into the night. Yan Luyun watched the two disappear with a complicated expression. He then drove home. As soon as he entered the house, he couldn't wait to go to his grandfather's room. He found that his aunt was also there. The two seemed to be discussing something. Since his aunt returned from home some time ago, she had been secretly discussing with his grandfather. No one else knew what they were talking about. Chapter 648. Yan Patian and Yan Qingyi stopped their conversation at the same time, looked at Yan Luyan and asked, "What's the matter?" "Grandfather, I went to see Tang Zheng today. He asked me to send his regards to his aunt," Yan Luyan said. Yan Patian nodded his head in gratification. "You are getting closer and closer to him. This is indeed a good thing." "Grandfather, from the looks of it, he seems to be very familiar with aunt?" Yan Luyan asked suspiciously. Yan Potion's thick white eyebrows furrowed, but Yan Qingyi took the lead and said without batting an eyelid, "I met him a while ago, and once again witnessed his extraordinariness." Seeing that his aunt did not say anything, Yan Luyan did not ask further and said, "Tonight, we met Ji Wuxiang, and his attitude towards Tang Zheng was extremely strange. He attached great importance to him and even asserted that the development potential of our great families was not as good as Tang Zheng's. In the future, he would surpass us, and even the structure of this world would change because of him. To be honest, as someone who is a few years older than Tang Zheng, Yan Luyan was very shocked by these words and even envied Tang Zheng's achievements. All these years, he had been cautious and conscientious in order to win the title of the head of the 4 young masters of the capital. However, Tang Zheng's rocket-like rise made his achievements pale in comparison. Ji Wuxiang. Yan Potion's eyelids twitched, his expression became especially serious, and he asked, "Did he really say that?" Grandson heard it with his own ears. "It's absolutely true." Yan Luyan nodded firmly. Yan Patian pondered for a long time, then sighed faintly and said, "Since he said so, I'm afraid it will really become a reality." Ah! Yan Qingyi and Yan Luyan were both shocked. They never thought that the old man would be so certain of Ji Wuxiang. "Grandpa, is this true?" Yan Luyan asked in disbelief. Yan Patian nodded his head. Since it came from his mouth, then it should be close to the truth. In terms of looking at people and predicting the situation, no one can surpass him. Hiss! The two of them sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. This kind of evaluation was too high, especially when it came from Yan Potion's mouth. There was no doubt about it. "Father, is Ji Wuxiang really worthy of such an evaluation? Who is he?" Yan Qingyi couldn't help but ask. "His origins are too mysterious. Even the great clans don't know much about him, but one thing is for sure. His strength is definitely not simple, and his background is not small. Because of this, he was like a fish in water in the capital. No one dared to find trouble with him. For a person who cannot be understood, no one wants to be his enemy." Yan Patian sighed with emotion. Yan Luyan was slightly disappointed to see that the old master was unable to tell Ji Wuxiang's background. He asked, "Then what exactly did he mean by those words?" Yan Patian shook his head. "I can't guess it for the time being, but without a doubt, there is no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. These words will definitely reach the ears of others." That's right. That's why it's hard to say whether this is good or bad for Tang Zheng. Praise him to death. The silent Yan Qingyi's eyes suddenly lit up as she said in a powerful and resonant voice. "Kill by flattery?" Yan Patian and Yan Luyan cried out in alarm. "You're saying that Ji Wuxiang deliberately said that, and then made Tang Zheng's halo even more dazzling, so as to kill him?" None of them had thought of this. "Since Ji Wuxiang is as mysterious and far-sighted as you said, Father, then his words and actions must have a deeper meaning. I really can't figure out his specific thoughts, so I thought of this with a flash of inspiration," Yan Qing explained. Yan Luyan was puzzled. Would Ji Wuxiang really have such an intention? What good would it do him to kill Tang Zheng? A person wouldn't do something that would be thankless, right? The few of them looked at each other speechlessly, unable to guess the reason behind it. This Ji Wuxiang was shrouded in layers of mysteries, shrouded in clouds and mist, making it impossible for people to see through him. Then what should we do? For the time being, we still can't figure out his specific intentions. Let's wait and see, and remind Tang Zheng when necessary. In addition, our family's established policy will not change, but we must quickly close the distance between us and Tang Zheng. This is your aunt's gain from this trip. The world is really going to change, and Tang Zheng is the most important factor. Whether or not our Yan clan can soar again depends on this child." Yan Patian said with a resounding voice. He did not retreat because of Ji Wuxiang's unknown intentions, but instead took a step closer. Obviously, what Yan Qingyi saw and heard in front of the Tree of Life had contributed to his determination. Yan Luyan glanced at his aunt, guessing that this must be related to the secret discussion between the two of them in the past few days. "I heard that Tang Zheng's company has already started, with Mu Hongyan at the helm, and our Yan family is cooperating with his company in all aspects, pushing his company into the fast track of development. Since Ji Wuxiang has predicted his future achievements with certainty, then we will push Tang Zheng forward. In the end, we still hope to see the day when he stands at the top of the world, and all of our Yan family's investments will bear fruit." Yan Patian added. Tang Zheng did not know that those words had such a huge impact on him. Of course, this was a good influence, and a bad influence followed suit. Song Yu looked at the few people in front of him with an ashen face. These were all hedonistic sons of rich families who had been insufferably arrogant in the past, and were a group of people who followed his lead. These people had become so battered and exhausted. It was as if he had been ruthlessly slapped in the face, causing him to feel a burning pain. Young Master Song, you have to uphold justice for us. That Tang Zheng is too arrogant. He doesn't put us in his eyes at all, and even more so, he doesn't put you in his eyes, young Master Song. Everyone complained with snot and tears streaming down their faces. So many of you are still not a match for him. You still have the face to complain in front of me? Song Yu roared in disappointment. The few of them trembled in fear and said, Ji Wuxiang is also helping him. We can't do anything about it. We have the heart, but we don't have the strength. Ji Wuxiang. Yes, he publicly asserted that Tang Zheng would surpass several great families in the future, and that he alone would break the world's structure. Song Yu's brows tightened, his expression fluctuating. The few of them looked at him with fear and trepidation. Someone said indignantly, He's talking nonsense. Who does that kid think he is? Breaking the world structure? Isn't he afraid of biting his tongue when talking big? There's young Master Song in this world. That kid has no place to strut around. The others hurriedly agreed and nodded in agreement. Shut up, Song Yu said coldly. In the past, Song Yu was a cultured and refined person who never revealed his inner world. However, the more he interacted with Tang Zheng, the more he gradually lost control of his temper. He could no longer restrain it. In particular, Qin Lao's death had seriously agitated him. Since he was young, Qin Lao had been by his side and could be considered his closest bodyguard. The relationship between the old and the young was quite good. However, because of a momentary mistake, he sent Qin Lao to ordinary balance, but he didn't expect that Qin Lao would die at the hands of Tang Zheng. Therefore, he hated Tang Zheng to the bone. He wanted nothing more than to drink his blood and eat his flesh. However, he knew that Tang Zheng's power was already established, and he also had the backing of the National Security Bureau. It wouldn't be easy for him to touch Tang Zheng. Qin Lao's death could only be temporarily put aside, but he never forgot this hatred in his heart. This time, the few rich playboys were taught a lesson, but it didn't make him lose his wolf. However, after hearing Ji Wuxiang's words, he couldn't stay calm anymore. Ji Wuxiang was too mysterious. His assertion was very likely to be true. If Tang Zheng was really as successful and powerful as he said, then his revenge would be even more unrealistic. He absolutely couldn't allow this to happen. Seeing Song Yu lose his temper, the few people closed their mouths and looked at him in silence. Ji Wuxiang, do you really think so highly of him? Song Yu seemed to be talking to himself, his eyes filled with an ominous glint. Young Master Song, I think you're just bragging. How could that brat be so powerful? Someone couldn't help but interject. Song Yu coldly smiled and disdainfully said, What do you know? You guys only know how to eat, drink, play, and chase after female stars. What else can you do? The few people were speechless. Wasn't this a true portrayal of their daily lives? You guys can go back. Song Yu impatiently waved his hand. None of these people could help him at a critical moment or give him advice. He couldn't help but miss Qin Lao. If he was still here, he would definitely analyze the pros and cons for him. Once he thought of Qin Lao, his heart couldn't help but ache. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath to calm himself down. Seeing the few people leave, his eyes once again filled with an ominous glint. He gritted his teeth and said, Tang Zheng, how could I let you do as you wish? Ji Wuxiang, although you think highly of him, I want you to know that there are too many variables in this world. I want to make Tang Zheng completely disappear from this world. He finally made up his mind to get rid of Tang Zheng before he reached the peak. But he clearly wasn't Tang Zheng's opponent. Even with the help of the Song family, he still might not be able to win. After all, the Yen family had always been protecting him, and he also had the National Security Bureau behind him. You have too many protective talismans on you. Then I will find someone to break them. I heard that the dragon group suffered a big loss at his hands this time. Xing Feng must be furious. In the past, Xing Feng always wanted to work more closely with the Song family. This time, he will follow his wishes and work together to completely eliminate Tang Zheng. No one knew that Ji Wuxiang's words would lead to so many consequences. What was his intention when he said those words? Was it to kill? Or did he have other motives? Tang Zheng didn't know these details at all because he was told to quickly go to the airport at dawn. What was he going to do at the airport? He was confused. Su Yingtian said with certainty that he had to hurry, or he wouldn't let him go. Tang Zheng had no choice but to say goodbye to Linger. He rushed to the airport early in the morning, but the scene in front of him made him flabbergasted. Outside the airport, several news trucks and many cameras were waiting solemnly. Damn, which country's leader is coming? What a big fuss. Tang Zheng shook his head and searched for Su Yingtian in the crowd. Chapter 649. Tang Zheng was shocked. Why were they making such a big scene? Just as he was about to strike back, he realized that these were all reporters, so he quickly retreated. But the reporters had trained a pair of fast legs, and in the blink of an eye, they had surrounded Tang Zheng from all directions, leaving no gaps. Tang Zheng, what's the progress of your relationship with Princess and? They shoved their cameras in front of Tang Zheng and bombarded him with questions. What's the progress of your relationship with Princess and? Will you marry Princess and in the future, or will you go to Sweden to get married? Was it your suggestion that Princess and came all the way to Huaxia to study? Are you here to pick her up now? The questions were getting more and more outrageous. Tang Zheng's head was about to explode. How could these reporters have such a good imagination? It would be a waste if they didn't write novels. However, he finally figured out why there was such a big scene today. It turned out that Princess Anne was here. He thought that he would have to wait for a while. He didn't expect it to be so fast. Su Yingtian was really a thief. He didn't tell him the truth and just tricked him into coming to the airport. Su Yingtian probably also knew that if he told him the truth, he wouldn't be so obedient and come to the airport. But now that he was trapped by the reporters, he had a headache. Looking at the pairs of eyes that were burning with the flames of gossip, Tang Zheng really wanted to jump up and fly over their heads. But then, it would definitely be more lively, and it would be recorded by those cameras. Seeing that he didn't say a word, the reporters didn't give up. They surrounded him even more tightly and kept asking him about his relationship with Princess Anne. Tang Zheng had no choice but to say loudly, "Everyone listen to me. I have nothing to do with Princess Anne. What you know is fake. It's all a misunderstanding." How can it be a misunderstanding? Princess Anne came to China to study, and she even went to the same school as you. Isn't that the best proof? The reporters all had a look of "don't treat me like a child," and refuted one after another. Tang Zheng was at a loss for words, but he didn't want to be misunderstood any further. He explained, "What I said is true. I only know Princess Anne." Seeing that he was trying to distance himself from Princess and again, the reporters immediately imagined many scenarios. Finally, someone's eyes lit up as if he had discovered a new continent. He immediately lowered his head and recorded a line of words in his notebook. The mysterious knight and Princess and feared that their relationship would change, so the mysterious knight deliberately distanced himself from her. When the others saw this, they reacted one after another and immediately thought of a headline with a similar title. Princess Anne had a change of heart as soon as she came to Huaxia. The mysterious knight actually had a change of heart. This was definitely explosive news, enough to attract the attention of the whole world. Crack, crack. The sound of shutters kept ringing. The reporters recorded Tang Zheng's expression at the moment and wanted to convey it to all the readers. The image of this modern chinshimi was bound to be deeply rooted in people's hearts and become the public enemy of many men and even women. A princess was actually abandoned by him. This kind of man was really too abominable. Tang Zheng didn't know that his image had suffered such a huge change. Seeing that there was finally a crack among the reporters, he took the opportunity to slip through and escape. Tang Zheng couldn't wait to leave the airport immediately, but before he could go far, he was stopped by Su Yingtian. He crossed his arms and looked at Tang Zheng with a faint smile. Tang Zheng frowned and said angrily, "Director Su, you are too deceptive. You didn't tell me the reason, so I was surrounded by these people and almost couldn't escape." Su Yingtian smiled and said, "This is a good thing that many people dream of. You are lucky. Go and ask how many people want to be the focus of the interview, but they don't have the opportunity. I will give this opportunity to you. You go." "Haha, I want to, but I don't have that fate." "Haha, this is your fate. You can't escape, so slowly enjoy it." Su Yingtian patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and laughed. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and waved his fist and said, "I don't believe in fate. I believe that fate is in my own hands, and I can control it." Su Yingtian smiled noncommittally and said, "Don't run away at the last minute. I called you here for a proper reason." "What business?" "Protecting Princess Anne. Isn't this the most important thing?" "She is a princess. Does she still need me to protect her? Who knows how many bodyguards are protecting her in the dark? Why would she need me to do it?" Tang Zheng shook his head. He obviously thought that this was nonsense. "Didn't I tell you a few days ago? After Princess Anne comes to China, you'll be in charge of her security." "She doesn't have bodyguards?" "Of course she does, but she didn't bring them this time. Since Princess Anne is here to study, she will be traveling lightly. So she is the only one who came to China." Tang Zheng almost fainted. A princess actually came to Huaxia by herself. This was too ridiculous. Didn't she know that there were many bad people in this world? But thinking about how she dared to sail alone on the vast sea, it was not difficult to understand her courage and behavior. But this made things difficult for Tang Zheng. She wanted to travel lightly, so she couldn't have someone follow her every day. So most of the time, she needed Tang Zheng to protect her. Protecting a princess. Wasn't this nonsense? He had so many things to do every day. He had to practice martial arts and deal with other things. He didn't have enough time. How could he have the energy to protect the princess? Seeing Tang Zheng's gloomy mood, Su Yingtian explained, "This is something that many people yearn for even in their dreams, so don't try to stop me. Whoever wants it can take it by themselves. I really don't want it. Tang Zheng, you promised me. As a man, how can you go back on your words?" Su Yingtian used his trump card. "Damn, you didn't make it clear last time, okay? Where did you tell me that I am the only one who will protect her? I thought that I was just a support and would occasionally lend a hand, but now you are pushing everything to me." Tang Zheng angrily retorted. Su Yingtian looked resentful. Knowing that he was in the wrong, he quickly smiled and said, "This is a special case. Please bear with it." Tang Zheng also knew that although he had wasted so much time, he still had to accept this task. He could only sigh and said, "You tricked me. I will remember this. It won't be so easy in the future." Su Yingtian didn't mind and laughed. Passengers came out of the airport exit one after another. Reporters heard the news and immediately swarmed over to block the exit. Pairs of fiery eyes swept through the crowd. Suddenly, a tall Western face came into view. It was completely different from the other passengers. Whether it was appearance or temperament, it was much higher than the others. She wore light makeup and was dressed casually. Canvas shoes, jeans, a simple jacket, and a suitcase. Although it was a simple outfit, it was completely the style of a fashionista. Moreover, it gave off a handsome feeling. Princess Anne. There was no doubt that this was the simple Princess Anne. She didn't even wear a pair of sunglasses to cover half of her face like other celebrities. She completely exposed her beautiful face to everyone's eyes. There was no arrogance on her face. Her face was calm, and her pair of lively eyes searched the crowd. Suddenly, her eyes fixed on a figure in the distance. The corner of her mouth couldn't help but reveal a charming smile. The cameras immediately recorded this smile. This smile was completely in line with Hua Xia's aesthetic. Tang Jung couldn't hide it all. Suing Tian took a step back and slipped to the side like a passerby. His work was confidential. It was not suitable for him to be exposed under the spotlight. Tang Jung helplessly became the focus of the spotlight. His impatient expression was vividly recorded. Many people were even more certain of their previous thoughts. A man with such an expression towards Princess N must be a heartless man. The previous rumors weren't false. When Princess N came to China for a few days, Tang Jung disappeared. At that time, there were already rumors of him being a heartless man. Today's events directly confirmed this matter. Princess N excitedly waved at Tang Jung and walked towards him with her suitcase. Tang Jung had no choice but to walk towards her. However, the reporters wouldn't let them go so easily. They blocked Princess N's path and started to ask her questions. Princess N's Huaxia was very fluent and experienced. She answered the reporters smoothly. When asked about her relationship with Tang Jung, she smiled mysteriously but didn't say anything. Although there was no accurate sentence, it left people with unlimited imagination. In short, in the reporter's pen, Princess N was definitely the incarnation of a goddess. She was the polar opposite of Tang Jung. Move aside. What's there to watch? Seeing that the reporters were endless, Tang Jung impatiently squeezed through. This time, the reporters didn't have a good impression of Tang Jung. They all glared at him. However, Tang Jung acted as if he didn't see them. He directly squeezed to Princess N's side, took her suitcase, and asked, "Can we go now?" Whether it was her expression or her tone, she was impatient. It showed the demeanor of a chun shimmy. Princess N smiled sweetly and said, "Yes." Tang Jung conveniently picked up her suitcase and said, "Then let's go. You're about to cause a traffic jam." Tang Jung squeezed forward, but was blocked by the reporters. It was so tight that he couldn't do anything. "Everyone, please make way. Is that okay?" "Thank you." Princess N saw the situation and immediately asked gently, "Hua?" Like the tide, the crowd retreated to the sides with humble smiles on their faces. Tang Jung really wanted to curse. No one cared about him at all. Princess N's simple words were treated like an imperial edict. The gap between men and women was too big. Chapter 650. What made Tang Jung dumbfounded was something absolutely unexpected. Princess N actually did not have a place to stay in China. This time, she came to study privately and deliberately refused the official reception request. Su Yingtian did not tell Tang Jung about this situation. "Which hotel do you want to go to? I'll take you there." Tang Jung touched his forehead and said with a headache. Princess N blinked her big lively eyes and said, "I don't want to stay in a hotel. I'm tired of staying in all the hotels in the world. It's not interesting at all. Since I came to Huaxia, of course I have to adapt to the life of ordinary people." "What do you mean by ordinary people's life?" Tang Jung gradually had an ominous premonition. Sure enough, Princess N looked at Tang Jung affectionately and said, "Of course it's to live in an ordinary family. You also have a place to stay in Beijing. I'll live in your house." "No." Tang Jung refused without thinking. He even saw the strange look in the taxi driver's eyes, as if to say this kid is a fool. He actually refused this kind of luck. Princess N's identity was indeed very tempting, even to Tang Jung. It was self-evident. But he already had enough romantic debts. If he provoked another princess, who knows how much trouble it would be. He didn't want to live under the spotlight all day, like a white mouse, without any secrets to speak of. After all, he really hid too many secrets that could not be revealed to outsiders. Princess Anne was not discouraged. She blinked her big watery eyes and said pitifully, "Can I stay for a while?" At this moment, Princess Anne's appearance was so charming, especially that lovely and moving eyes. It made people completely unable to say half a word of rejection. The driver glanced from the rearview mirror. His hands were in a panic, and he almost knocked the taxi into a nearby tree. The charm of the princess was indeed unstoppable. Even if Tang Zheng was experienced, looking at her appearance, he could not bear to refuse. "I live on campus," Tang Zheng said helplessly. Princess and bit her lip and shook her head. "No, you also have a place outside because you often don't return home at night. You won't tell me that you sleep under the bridge, right?" Obviously, she was prepared to investigate and directly expose Tang Zheng's lies. Tang Zheng was speechless. He couldn't help but feel angry. "Your identity is too special. It's not good for you to live with me." Princess and stubbornly shook her head. Instead, she moved her hips towards Tang Zheng. The two of them faced each other, and they could almost hear each other's breathing. "My identity is nothing. Your identity is the truly special one." Princess and had always believed that Tang Zheng was an immortal. Since he was an immortal, then her identity as a princess seemed insignificant. Therefore, she had never put on airs in front of Tang Zheng. "Living with you is something I've always dreamed of." Princess and stared at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. She was like a little girl who saw her idol for a long time. Cough, cough. Tang Zheng almost choked on his saliva. This sentence had too many meanings. Living with him. Didn't that mean living together? Living together with a princess, this seemed to be very tempting. Cough, cough. He coughed dryly and hurriedly discarded these charming thoughts. Although this was a very tempting thing, the risks involved were not small. What would Feng Shishir think of him? There was also Yi Dingdang. It would be strange if they did not make a scene. Moreover, the media would swarm him. They would not give up until they dug up all the details of him. He scratched his head. This was really a vexing problem. "Tang Zheng, can I live in your house?" And stared at Tang Zheng with watery eyes. Her eyes were filled with expectation. "Young man, a man should be straightforward. Why are you being so wishy-washy? The girl has already said this much. If you still refuse, I will doubt if you are a man. Moreover, this is a foreign friend. Hey, it is my duty to bring glory to the country." The driver seemed to be unable to continue watching this situation. He could not help but speak up for the injustice. "You don't understand the situation." Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. "How could I not understand the situation? Back in the day, your uncle also fought his way to the top. I have plenty of experience. Hurry up and say yes." The driver was obviously unaware of Princess Annie's true identity, but he still sounded very reasonable. "I can only let you stay for a few days. Since you like the life of an ordinary person in the capital so much, then go find a new house in 2 days." Tang Zheng could only take a step back and compromise. Anne's charm was too great. If the stalemate continued, perhaps the driver would not be able to bear it and would directly leave Tang Zheng on the road. Yay! When Anne heard this, her eyes lit up. She cheered and hugged Tang Zheng. Her body was tightly pressed against his. The chauffeur smiled knowingly. Tang Zheng indeed felt like he was on fire and ice. He had to admit that Anne's body was very good. Her front and back were perky. Moreover, because of her long-term training, her limbs were well-proportioned. There were also some small muscles that were filled with the beauty of strength. With such a great body lying on top of him, it was enough to create a fatal temptation. It made Tang Zheng's heartbeat uncontrollably quicken, and completely did not realize that she had such a great charm. She just naturally revealed her excitement. After a while, she finally let go and moved her body to give Tang Zheng enough space. From time to time, she would point at the scenery outside the window and ask Tang Zheng questions. Tang Zheng chatted with her casually. He could not help but remember that he purposely disappeared some time ago. After this meeting, and did not mention a word about it. It was as if it had never happened. He did not know if she did it on purpose or if she had really forgotten. The more she was like this, the more Tang Zheng felt a little guilty. She was a dignified princess, and she had repeatedly expressed her goodwill, but he avoided her like the plague, as if she was a god of plague. This was indeed a bit of a blow. Looking at the excited and Tang Zheng's heart moved. Actually, she was also a simple girl. She was not arrogant. Instead, She was more approachable than most so-called goddesses. Forget it. I'll let her stay first. Then I'll find a place for her. I hope no one else finds out. Otherwise, the news of me living with Princess and would be too big. The taxi stopped at the entrance of a residential area not far from Yenching University. The two of them got off together and walked into the residential area. Along the way, they attracted a lot of attention. Although it was not uncommon to see foreigners in a big city like Yenching, there was nothing strange about it. However, Anne's temperament and appearance were completely different from the average foreigner. She could not help but attract attention. Tang Zheng said in a low voice, "Let's go." Seeing that she did not have much of a reaction, he instead observed the situation in the residential area with interest. Tang Zheng anxiously grabbed her hand and did not allow her to resist. In fact, she did not resist at all. She strode into the residential area.
Bang!
The door was heavily slammed shut. Tang Zheng finally breathed a sigh of relief and looked like she had returned to her own home. She looked around Tang Zheng's residential area with interest. Whoosh! A white figure jumped out of the house and jumped on Tang Zheng's shoulder in the blink of an eye. A pair of small eyes rolled around and looked at the uninvited guest suspiciously, and recognized Xiao Bai at a glance. She covered her mouth with her hand and could not help but exclaim, "Wow, it's him." At that time, Xiao Bai was still fresh in her memory. She had also seen how powerful Xiao Bai was in the South Sea Dragon Palace. It was like a mythical beast in the legends, which made her very curious. Xiao Bai squeaked twice. Apparently, it did not have much feelings for this beauty. It lay on Tang Zheng's shoulder and licked its toes. "Shangxian, you're back." Gui Qiansui slowly climbed out and greeted respectfully. Princess and also recognized Gui Qiansui. At that time, it was an enemy, but now it was subdued by Tang Zheng, and looked at Tang Zheng with eyes full of worship. Tang Zheng was simply a godlike figure. No, he was even more powerful than the mythical immortals in the Western world. Tang Zheng stole a glance at Gui Qiansui. His eyes lit up and exclaimed, "Your cultivation has improved so fast." Gui Qiansui practiced the Heavenly Spirit 36 Absolutes. His cultivation had increased greatly, and the aura he exuded was completely different. That was why Tang Zheng noticed this, but he couldn't help but be shocked. Gui Qiansui was overjoyed and said, "All of this is the effect of Shangxian's cultivation method. Thank you for your help. As long as I master the Heavenly Spirit 36 Absolutes, I will be able to transform into a human." "Really? That's great." Tang Zheng was still vexed that he had so many demon beasts, and there was no way to take them away. But now the situation has changed. As long as he had the Heavenly Spirit 36 Absolutes, the demon beasts would be able to transform into a human once they mastered it. At that time, no matter where Tang Zheng went, they would be able to protect him and serve him. It was simply like having a few more powerful helpers, and they could follow him at any time. All of this is Shangxian's reward. Gui Qiansui, will definitely remember it. Gui Qiansui said excitedly. Listening to the conversation between the two, Princess Anne felt like she was shrouded in fog, but she also felt that it was very novel. She sincerely sighed and said, "Tang Zheng, you are really more mysterious and powerful than I thought." Tang Zheng smiled and said, "You flatter me. I hope to know more about you in the future. I am very interested in the culture of your Huaxia," and said enthusiastically. "Then you should pay more attention in class. I don't need to know anything about you. I will prepare a room for you." "Thank you." Annie smiled faintly and did not refuse. The cohabitation life here had just begun, but the entertainment circle and the international community had already exploded. The matter of Tang Zheng and had gone viral on the internet. There were countless shocking headlines, most of which were protesting and angry at Tang Zheng's behavior. What did he do to win Princess Anne's favor? And Princess Anne could be said to be throwing herself at him, chasing him so far to see him. Of course, the statement about Tang Zheng, the modern chinchimi, was also very popular. It attracted the attention of all parties and caused various social effects. Chapter 651. The Swedish Royal Family. The king looked at the beautiful scenery outside the window with a sad face. He was in a terrible mood. Princess Anne was his youngest daughter and his most beloved pearl. Her growth experience was quite different from that of ordinary royal princesses. Since she was young, she had been nurtured according to her interests and wishes. Therefore, her personality was very independent. Otherwise, she would not have sailed across the ocean alone at such a young age. After visiting Huaxia, she took the initiative to ask to study abroad. This really surprised the king, but he did not delve into the reason. Over the years, Huaxia's national strength had risen strongly, far surpassing many of the old powers in the West, and even contending with the Atlantic Empire. Of course, Sweden was also looking forward to a good relationship with Huaxia, so they agreed to Anne's request. However, the king did not expect Annie to do all this for the sake of that mysterious night. Speaking of this mysterious night, it really surprised the past. When the mysterious night was revealed, he thought that the other party and Anne would not have any more interactions. But he did not expect that the two of them would meet unexpectedly in Huaxia. If he had known this, he would not have agreed to Anne's visit to Huaxia. Now, his subordinates have already reported to him in detail what happened in Huaxia's capital city, focusing on the mysterious knight Tangjung. But he did not think that Tangjung really had anything to do with Anne. Of course, the king did not sit idly by for the island nation's bad behavior of assassinating Anne. He had already stopped several important cooperation with the island nation. This time, the media once again released such eye-catching news, and even said that Princess Anne had been abandoned. This was not only damaging to the dignity of the royal family, but also a great harm to his daughter. As the king of a country and the father of a daughter, he could no longer ignore it. He is a cultivator of Huaxia, but so what? If you dare to treat my daughter like this, I will teach you a lesson. The king clenched his teeth and thought silently. Tang Zheng's identity as a cultivator was not a secret. For a country's ruler, it was not difficult to investigate this point. However, he didn't know much about the identity of cultivators. He only knew that they were very powerful people. But no matter how powerful they were, could they contend against an entire country? The king easily came to a negative answer, and, having seen the apple of his eye being pushed into the limelight again and again, the king decided to act. Tang Zheng and Princess Anne's cohabitation life was not peaceful. The two of them went downstairs to buy some daily necessities, which attracted a lot of attention along the way. If he went in and out of this house with her every day, Tang Zheng would undoubtedly become the center of attention, and the neighbors would come to watch. I have to find a way to change the current situation. Tang Zheng silently made up his mind. Creak. The bathroom door opened, and a gust of fragrant wind blew in. This was not the smell of any perfume, but a natural light fragrance. Body fragrance. Tang Zheng immediately made a judgment and looked in the direction of the fragrance. Who? His breathing immediately became rapid, and his heartbeat increased a bit. He saw a beautiful woman standing in front of him, wrapped in a bath towel. Her white shoulders and slender legs were completely exposed to the air. There were still a few water droplets left on her skin, as if they would roll down her rosy white skin at any time. Princess Anne did not notice Tang Zheng's strange expression. She continued to wipe her hair with the towel, and her breasts almost burst the towel on her body. I heard that she is only 18 years old. How come her body is so good? Her movements are so big. Won't the towel fall off? Tang Zheng mischievously speculated. As soon as this thought appeared, other thoughts came like a tide. What kind of scenery is inside the towel? It really makes people want to find out. He took a deep breath and suppressed the restless flames in his heart. Unexpectedly, Anne walked towards him while drying her hair and said lazily, I sat on the plane for too long. I am really tired. I feel much better after taking a bath. After saying that, she stretched her waist and stretched her slender arms. The scenery in front of her chest became even more magnificent. Then, she sat down next to Tang Zheng. Her slender legs were tightly pressed together, and the towel wrapped around her buttocks and thighs. The scenery was faintly discernible. The flames that Tang Zheng had just suppressed jumped up again. No, this is too much of a test. He was a young man in his 20s, and his fire was already very strong. This kind of stimulation over and over again was simply driving him crazy. Since you are tired, then go to sleep, Tang Zheng said absent-mindedly. I am still jet-lagged. I am very energetic now. Chat with me, and said in high spirits. What is there to talk about? Tang Zheng said perfunctorily, and shook her head and said, there is a lot to talk about. For example, I only found out that you are a cultivator after going back. Are cultivators the legendary immortals?
No.
But you are so powerful. In my heart, you are like an immortal. And held her chin with both hands and stared at Tang Zheng with sparkling eyes. Tang Zheng was speechless. If he was as powerful as an immortal, then wouldn't he be invincible? Although this girl was a princess, her eyes were not very good. Even with his strength, she still thought that he was an immortal. She was really ignorant. Tang Zheng did not have a habit of pretending in front of a beauty. He directly said, you flatter me. I am just an ordinary person. I am just a little more powerful than the average person. Is that so? But I don't think so. And moved her body a little closer to Tang Zheng. A fragrant wind blew in his face. Tang Zheng's heart swayed. With a whoosh, the flame in his heart was ignited. Are you kidding me? How can I be so easily aroused tonight? Tang Zheng was puzzled. Princess Anne was beautiful, but Tang Zheng was not a virgin. Logically speaking, he should not be unable to control the desire in his heart. But her little action almost made Tang Zheng lose control. There must be a problem somewhere. You don't look too good. What's wrong? Princess Anne asked while reaching out her hand to touch his forehead. Whoosh. Suddenly, the flame in his heart flew up and his breathing became hurried. Oh no, the pure yang energy is acting up. Tang Zheng finally realized what the problem was. It turned out that the pure yang energy was causing trouble. His pure yang energy has been quiet for a long time. Although he has not been close to women recently, his body has not changed in the slightest. But Anne's appearance obviously made the pure yang energy surge. Especially in the dead of night, a man and a woman alone in a room made him almost lose control. But in the end, the wolf did not let him do anything stupid. He stood up and said, I'm going to bed. Good night. With that, he rushed into the bedroom. He took a few deep breaths and found that the pure yang energy did not stop. Instead, it became more and more intense and showed signs of breaking through his body. Can't you stop for a moment? It makes me look like a beast. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Obviously, the pure yang energy could not understand his words. It was running amok in his meridians. After a while, he seemed to be boiling. No, I can't let it develop so unscrupulously. Otherwise, I will really explode and die tonight. In the middle of the night, there was no one to calm him down. In the capital, Wu went somewhere to practice. Lu Qingmei went on a business trip. Only Yi Dingdang was left. But she and Yi Dingdang had not developed to that point. Did he have to rush to the Ye family in the middle of the night and say, Dingdang, let's go to bed? It would be strange if he was not treated as a madman. Moreover, he would lose face. How would he face Yi Dingdang in the future? This time I will grit my teeth and endure. He closed his eyes and operated the ancient clear heaven scroll. His true chi flowed little by little in his meridians. Since he started practicing the ancient clear heaven scroll, he had already memorized this ancient book. The ancient clear heaven scroll has more than 1,000 words. It is not like ordinary cultivation techniques that are divided into levels. It needs to be practiced step by step. Instead, it needs to be practiced throughout the entire cultivation technique. True Qi revolves according to the ancient book. It is the same as practicing the ancient clear heaven scroll once. True Qi revolves once, and the true Qi will increase by a little. Therefore, the ancient clear heaven scroll will be practiced step by step. Naturally, one skill will improve. But this is also a big weakness of the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll. It is too gradual. It needs to revolve the true qi again and again, accumulating it little by little. In a short period of time, it is impossible to rapidly increase the true qi. Therefore, it is impossible to suddenly increase one's skill. Tang Zheng has long discovered this point, but has not had an effective solution. So for the time being, he threw it to the back of his mind and cultivated bit by bit. But this has an advantage. At any time, he can silently operate the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll. At any time, true qi can automatically revolve and increase his skill. As for the Dragon God arts, it is extremely difficult to get started. After getting started, each realm has a corresponding cultivation technique. There is no need to practice the entire cultivation technique. If this kind of cultivation technique is coincidental, it will soar like a volcanic eruption, greatly increasing one's skill. Compared to the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll, the Dragon God arts cannot be practiced at any time. One must calm down and carefully understand the profound meaning of each realm. Then, one can cultivate according to it. Only in this way can one improve. During this period of time, Tang Zheng would silently cultivate the Dragon God arts in the dead of night. After all, there are too many unknown treasures hidden in the Langya Pavilion. He also wants to go to the 3rd floor to see what kind of treasures are hidden. But obviously, he has only cultivated to the 2nd realm of the Dragon God arts. There is no sign of it soaring. The true qi of the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll did not suppress the pure yang energy. Instead, it was affected by the pure yang energy. The true qi also became hot and restless. The two sides complemented each other. His body was almost burning.
Squeak, squeak.
Xiao Bai jumped in front of him and stared at him with its black eyes. Tang Zheng heard the movement and opened his eyes to look at Xiao Bai. He said, "Xiao Bai, I can't control my pure yang energy. Do you have a way?" Xiao Bai directly jumped in front of Tang Zheng's palm, opened its small mouth and bit his finger. With a fierce force, blood flowed out and flowed into his mouth. It really works. Chapter 652. Xiao Bai looked at Tang Zheng in panic, screaming at his blood. Tang Zheng was surprised and asked, "Xiao Bai, what's wrong?" Xiao Bai quickly shook his head, as if he was afraid of his blood. "You don't like my blood?" Tang Zheng was puzzled. Xiao Bai nodded and screamed at his finger. Tang Zheng was really puzzled about the changes in his blood. In the past, Xiao Bai had absorbed his blood, and there was no difference. Why was he so afraid this time? Just now, the pure yang energy had found a vent, and a part of it had been absorbed. His body had calmed down a lot. He continued to circulate his energy to appease the pure yang energy, wandering on the edge of eruption. The next day, Tang Zheng opened his eyes. He was exhausted. The dark circles under his eyes were dark and big. After a night of torment, the pure yang energy was finally appeased by him. But he also realized that something was wrong. Tian Chanzi predicted that his pure yang energy would finally erupt at the age of 20, causing him to explode and die. This year, he was 19 years old. He was getting closer and closer to the date of death. Moreover, his cultivation was getting higher and higher. The accumulation of pure yang energy over time had also greatly increased. When there were women by his side, he could still absorb pure yin energy to reconcile. But now, there were no women by his side. He was in an extremely dangerous state. In the past, he could still absorb pure yin energy by getting close to other girls. Now, he could do the same. However, absorbing pure yin energy like that was like throwing a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It couldn't balance out the increasing amount of pure yang energy. He now wanted to reconcile the pure yang energy. There was only one way, but this method was not so easy to implement. He shook his head and threw away this messy thought. He walked out of the bedroom and found that Anne had also woken up and looked over and covered her mouth in surprise. "What's wrong with you?" His tired look was really terrible. It was a world of difference from yesterday. Tang Zheng tiredly waved his hand and said, "I'm fine." Really? And trotted over and asked with concern, "Do you need to go to the hospital?"
I'm really fine.
"I just didn't sleep well." "Oh." And heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. "I slept very well last night. Your house really does help me sleep better." In fact, this was the so-called sense of security. With Tang Zheng by her side, she would have an indescribable sense of security, as if no one in the world could hurt her, and she could relax to the extreme. For someone of her status, this state was extremely precious. Therefore, in just one night, she had already fallen in love with Tang Zheng's house. Tang Zheng didn't know what she was thinking. Otherwise, he would have regretted it. After tidying up and washing up, the two of them went downstairs. Tang Zheng had to go to school and had to report to school, so it was on the way. The school wasn't far, so the two of them walked there. On the way, they bought fried dough sticks, steamed buns, soy milk, and other breakfast, and ate with relish and exclaimed that it was delicious. For ordinary people, breakfast couldn't be any simpler, but in her mouth, it became a supreme delicacy. Tang Zheng was speechless. The number of people turning their heads to look at them was very high. When they arrived at school, the number of people turning their heads to look at them reached a peak. The students of Enchanting University had a vivid memory of Princess, and ordinary people couldn't recognize her, but these students quickly recognized her. They exclaimed and pointed at her. Especially when they saw Tang Zheng beside her, there was no longer any doubt about her identity. Princess Anne really came to Enchanting University. Not long ago, the news said that Princess Anne would come to China for an exchange, but they didn't expect that she would choose Enchanting University. The students immediately felt honored. At this moment, they were even more convinced of yesterday's gossip. Princess Anne really came to Huaxia to chase the mysterious knight Tang Zheng. Moreover, she specially chose Enchanting University. Her painstaking efforts were so obvious that even the heavens were touched. Many boys looked at Tang Zheng with envy and jealousy. Why did he have such good luck and fate? If they had this opportunity, even if their lives were shortened by 10 years, they wouldn't have lived in vain. Tang Zheng felt the complicated and strange gazes coming from all directions. He said, "I'll go to the classroom first."
Goodbye.
"Hey, wait a minute." Seeing that he was about to leave, Princess Anne grabbed his hand. Her soft palm felt great to the touch. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, countless pairs of murderous eyes looked over. Everyone stared at this scene without blinking. Tang Zheng was actually holding hands with Anne. That was the hand of a princess. How many lifetimes did he have to cultivate to have this blessing? Tang Zheng's heart couldn't help but tremble. Just like yesterday, his heart was exceptionally weak. Anne's careless little action would ignite his body. He didn't want the pure yang energy that he had suppressed with great difficulty last night to explode like this. Thus, he quickly broke free from her hand. ****. Looking at his impatient and disgusted look, someone couldn't help but burst out. What was wrong with this kid? She was a princess. A princess took the initiative to hold hands, yet he was so disgusted. Some people were restless. They really wanted to rush up and strangle him. "I don't know where the school's office building is. Take me there," and said. Just take me there. It won't delay your class." Anne's tone was a bit coquettish. It really made people unable to reject her. "Okay, let's go." Tang Zheng compromised. He quickly walked to the school's office building. Along the way, the students all looked over. After sending Anne to the school's office with great difficulty, Tang Zheng flew away under her reluctant gaze. Not long after arriving at the classroom, the members of Team 502 came. They surrounded Tang Zheng and vividly talked about the gossip between him and Princess Anne. Yesterday's big news was read word for word. Princess Anne actually came to Enchanting University for an exchange study. Even a fool could tell that she came for Tang Zheng. Sinosaurus hugged Tang Zheng's shoulder. His loud voice almost tore down the classroom. "Lao San, no matter what, you have to treat us this time. That's a princess." I can't see where your charm lies. Why are there so many beauties chasing after you?"
Don't misunderstand.
I really have nothing to do with her. Tang Zheng bitterly smiled. Haha, Lao San, you have nothing to do with her now. But that might not be the case in the future. Lao San, am I right? Zhou Yang agreed. Wang Shiji nodded his head solemnly and said, Fourth bro is right. In short, this is a joyous occasion for our dorm. To have reached this level of relationship with the princess, this is equivalent to an extension of our country's foreign policy. Haha, Lao San, you really have high standards. Sinosaurus clapped his hands and praised, Lao San, can you invite Princess and to eat with you? Last time I only caught a glimpse of her. If I can sit face to face with Princess and eat with her, then I would be extremely lucky. Yes, eat with Princess and... The other two hurriedly agreed. They were obviously very interested in this proposal. This isn't too good, Tang Zheng awkwardly said. Lao San, you can't be that bad, right? We don't have any other intentions. We just want to eat with the princess. As long as you ask, she will definitely agree. Looking at the three people's eager eyes, Tang Zheng had no choice but to agree. The day's classes quickly ended. Tang Zheng hadn't even gone to find Anne, but she had already taken the initiative to come to him. Let's go home? Anne said with a sweet smile. Go home? The other three people were stupefied. Their eyes became strange and thought-provoking as they stared straight at Tang Zheng. Don't let your imagination run wild. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and didn't explain further. This kind of thing would only make things worse if he explained. The three people laughed mischievously. They didn't comment, but they clearly didn't believe Tang Zheng's words. They thought he had a guilty conscience. Let's eat together tonight. Tang Zheng invited. Eat really? That's great. I love Huaxia's food the most. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Tonight I'll treat everyone to a meal. Anne said in high spirits. Your Highness the Princess is treating us. We are really lucky. When the other three heard this, they were overjoyed. The three people were just about to walk out of the school when several beautiful figures walked over from the distance. The one walking in front was Yi Dingding. The expressions of the four girls were clearly not good, especially Yi Dingding. Her face was like frost as she stared at, and with an unkind expression. Yesterday, they had already noticed the news of Princess and Tang Zheng. And this morning the news had spread like wildfire. Tang Zheng and had come to school together, and were even holding hands. Their behavior was incomparably intimate, no different from a couple. Everyone knew about the relationship between Tang Zheng and Yi Dingding. They all felt that it was unfair for her. Yi Dingdong's heart was also extremely pained. Of course she knew that Tang Zheng's luck with women was very good, but she never would have thought that this time he would provoke a princess. She wasn't afraid of Anne's identity as a princess, but after all, Anne's fame was too great. She was also too beautiful, so people couldn't help but feel apprehensive. It even gave birth to feelings of fear and worry. As a girl, she was very clear about how easy it was for a beauty to chase after a man. Especially when this was a princess. This kind of identity was simply a fatal temptation to men. It would make men feel a strong sense of conquest. Seeing and Tang Zheng talking and laughing from afar, Yi Dingding felt as if her heart had been ruthlessly stabbed by a bayonet. Her face became somewhat pale. The two sides stopped half a meter apart and looked at each other closely. The girls carefully examined Princess Anne, as if they wanted to find a flaw in her body. But after a while, they found that all of this was futile. At least in terms of appearance, Princess Anne was enough to kill many so-called goddesses. Her appearance was simply impeccable, and there wasn't even a single scar. Her skin was smooth and elastic, and the luster was very well proportioned. It was completely envied by women. Yi Dingding looked at Anne with mixed feelings. Then her eyes turned and stared at Tang Zheng. Her eyes became more and more complicated. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.